Good morning, everybody. Welcome to London Station. On the Discovery Corps today, we're going to be taking a look at Blue Rose, the romantic fantasy tabletop role-playing game that I know almost nothing about, but I was intrigued by it. This came up actually when we were doing the romance and relationships stream from like 2 months ago. Almost been doing this for 3 months now, which is crazy. Anyhow, so I don't know a ton about the game. I've done a little bit of research, a little bit of history diving into it. I guess it was initially published as a first edition in 2005, and that was under a system called True 20, which I've never seen or heard of, but I'm assuming it was coming out of the D20 boom in the early 2000s. And then updated between 2017 and 2019 into the Age system, which is run by Green Ronin Publishing, and that was a system that came out of Dragon Age RPG, which they had the license for, and then I think they lost the license for it, but they were able to take their core game system and turn it into just the Age system, which is the adventuring game engine, I think. And then they made a handful of games using that engine, Blue Rose being one that they ported over. And they also have a Expanse game. Morning, Deep Priest. Yeah, so they have an Expanse game and a couple others. I didn't dive super deep in. But what I did find out just this morning, and Aldark was so kind to update me on this. So they are updating the Age system into a simplified, leaner version called the Sage system. The S is for simple or simplified, I believe. And I got a link from Aldark, and I'm gonna pull up. Morning, Blood Earnest. How you doing? How are you doing? I gotta go find this link because I think this starts funding in 7 days. So I keep having this really lucky timing with games, between Pumpkin Spice and Runeway and now this. I happen to be looking at this game, and it launched. This campaign launches in 4 days. But it's interesting. I'm not sure if it's going to be the full game experience or if it's focusing in on a certain play experience, because it's talking a lot about wardens and young adults, trained adventurers, all this stuff. Simplified, yeah. Thank you, Thaddeus. Good morning. But anyway, so it'll be interesting because we'll look at the game, the second edition version, using the Age system today, and I don't know that much about it. We're gonna find out together. What I do know is that it really is kind of like an alt D&D. As far as, it's going to have some adventure and some stat blocks and some stats and skills and you're going to roll against DCs and all that stuff. But it does have some other interesting components to it. There's a thing called the drama die, which we'll go into. There are stunts that you basically build up points to do certain things in combats that is a little more active on the player side. But we're also going to spend quite a bit of time, I think, talking about the genre of romantic fantasy, which I've learned in a crash course over the last 12 hours, that romantic fantasy / romanticism / romantasy are not all necessarily the same things. So, yeah. Morning, Dicey. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. I didn't realize that you were the same Dicey as played with us in New Dawn for a while, and then I clicked on your name, and I was like, I know this fellow. We go way back. So, anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. I do need to put the link into the description. In fact, I might do it now, because then I won't forget. Plus, it's a chill Sunday morning. We're hanging out. And, yeah, there's no stress. New Sage version. Game engine backing soon. Maybe I can get myself on another backer page. Worked out well for Pumpkin Spice. Worked out well indeed. Okay, so that's been saved, and I'll put the link here too, if YouTube will let me. There you go. There you go. So you can look at that if you want. and click the follow me button. I'm sure you'll get an email and it'll tell you when it's live and yada, 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 yada. We've been around this sort of thing before, so no surprises there. Anyway, well, you haven't missed much. You haven't missed much, Aldark. It's we're only 6 minutes in, so anyway, I suppose it's probably a good time to switch over to the PDF. And there it is. I did put in my tip goal, if this is a thing that seems interesting that I might want to back. I have no idea what the price is going to be, but that's if y'all want me to have a new thing, and by all means don't. By all means just don't. But we'll see. This is a really rich setting that I can tell already. There's a lot to it, and I think partly because this second edition was, a full 12 years after the first edition, and so they've had already built up, the world and the setting and the core assumptions of the game and everything like that. But very unique art style, as you can tell. I was describing this the other night as like it has a very soft look. It's like pastel kind of watercolor feeling, but it looks actually like it's colored pencil. I'm not an artist. I'm not an artist, but I know some. So anyway, let's dive in. Let's take a look. Here we go. Now there's a lot of big names attached to this game that I recognize names, but that doesn't mean that I'm familiar with their work or anything like that. The only name that one of these people I've actually had face-to-face interaction with, because when I was interning at Paizo and I was in the editor intern pit, my desk was right next to Crystal Frazier's, and she was doing art design and layout for Paizo way back in the day. So I know Andrew Peregrine's a name that I've heard come up with things like I think he did Dune 2D20. Oh, Wes is in here. Cool. Yeah, Wes was at Paizo when I was there as well. He was actually who I reported to. Really cool guy. I liked him. I have a funny story about Wes. I was pretty proficient at editing, and so I finished like the list of work they had for me for the day to do proof copies. Because proofreading is like you can't really ruin anything if you're doing proofreading. You're already looking at it laid out on the page and doing your edits in the margins. And I came up to Wes one day and was like, "Hey, so I finished all those proofs that you had. Do you have anything else for me to work on?" And he was just like, "You finished?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, yeah. Like I got into this internship through the English major at my university, so like, it is what it is. And he's like, "Okay, well, go put your head down on your desk for an hour and relax." Okay, yeah, I was remembering that right. I know a community member was very big on their design of a lot of things. So, who else? I mean, Jeremy Crawford is a big name. I have nothing to say one way or the other about Jeremy Crawford. And I know there was another name that I know here. And there's names that I know other people in my community know as well. They're excited to see, so that's pretty cool. The staff themselves, maybe it changed between the quick start and the official release. Anyway, I don't know why I bothered to look at this stuff, because I don't know these people. I don't know what they do. But, credit where credit's due. Gigantic table of contents. Let's take a quick look at this. Just to know what we're getting into, we got a gameplay basics, character creation, focuses, talents, and specializations. This is like, I'm not even going to speculate. I'm guessing this is like what would be feats, in a Dungeons and Dragons 3E world. Arcana, which is spells, and seems really neat. I will say, this Arcana thing, this kind of looks like it's some sort of like spell tree system where you have entire sections of types of magic, and maybe it's a looser system on how you can actually invoke it, and it's not like rigid spells, but we'll find out. And then we're going to go into the world of Aldea. I probably won't, well, you all know how slowly and painstakingly I go through text. We probably won't get this far to get into the world. We'll probably just stay in the players section. That's pretty typical for my streams. But yeah, they got a whole world and a history, and to look at the reign of all these different monarchs and rulers and crazy stuff. Kingdom of the Blue Rose, Lands Beyond, and then the narrators section. This is where your GM advice is going to be. I was just talking with Thaddeus the other night about games that change the name of the game master and how sometimes that's cute and fun and works because the word isn't like too far from what you would expect it to be. And sometimes it's like you didn't need to make that wild choice to call your GM something special. Narrator is one I don't have a challenge with. I also don't have a challenge with director. I think that those words inform the tone and the style of play that you're going to get out of them anyway. So I like if you're going to change the name of the game master, change it to something that actually communicates design intent. So you recommend keeping Legend in the Mist in mind when reading about the setting. Very cool. I did just see on that little splash page for the Sage version, it has a specific bullet point about playing Slice of Life, and I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. That's the London way. Anyway, I went with my most princessy look today because of Blue Rose. So there you have it. The Blue Rose series. This confused me, but I looked it up. This is basically what they call the campaigns, which again that gives it a context. Calling it a series communicates information that you could almost think of these as books, right? Your campaign is like a series almost of books. Running the game, rewards. Oh, that's very interesting. This is very interesting. This is a rewards chapter, which I almost universally hate. I do not like equipment in games. I just feel like it's a whole extra game to learn an equipment system in a game. And like, okay, I guess I got to read all these items and figure out which ones don't even work in the system and shouldn't have even been printed. And then I'm going to find the ones that are the best, and they're going to be the ones that everybody takes because they're the best, and you're going to have no diversity, and it's going to be just, oh, I do this because it wins the game, and it drives me up the wall. So I'm not a fan of inventory or items in general, but this rewards chapter starts out with advancement, honorifics, titles, memberships, companions, and then it goes into like items. So if there's progression here that's about like your status in the realm, that's awesome. That's very cool. If those give you a mechanical benefit, and it's kind of like, oh, that's actually really smart and brilliant, and I kind of love it. But we'll see if that's even what it is. I'm just assuming at this point. And adversaries kind of got a bestiary of sorts. So we'll see what that looks like. Shadows of Tanglewood is, I believe, a little kind of like one-shot deal that's been put into the book. I don't like adventures in my rule books. They feel weird to me and misplaced. I don't like it. Can I just skip them? Yes, do I? Every single time. But I don't like it. Ironically, exception made for Hearts of Ravensdale for Legend in the Mist because I think that's just an awesome little entire campaign in the back, which they're going to continue into volumes 2 and 3, apparently. So it'll be like a whole series, and that at least feels like it has a weight and a presence to it, as opposed to what I see a lot of times is just like, and here's an adventure. And I'm like, but it feels like if it's the adventure in the book, it should be kind of like really central, and I don't know, maybe this is. So whatever. We're just rambling today. We are rambling. Okay, stunt reference, action reference, play aids, character sheets. Good enough. All right, let's get into it. I will probably focus really heavily on this introduction section like I do. And then as we get deeper into the book, of course, we're not going to show everything because that's like IP theft. So we'll just start there. Welcome to the world of Blue Rose, a fantastic realm where brave heroes gifted with arcane powers live and work side by side with intelligent animal companions. The heroes of the peaceful kingdom of Aldea strive to uphold the ideals of fairness, justice, and equality while protecting their homeland against its aggressive neighbors, including the fundamentalist theocracy of Jarzon and the dark land of Kern with its monstrous rulers. There's so much to unpack there already. Blue Rose is a role-playing game of romantic fantasy where you and your friends take on the roles of the main characters in this fantastic world, creating your own stories about the heroes of Aldea, their triumphs, and their tragedies. Like writing your own fantasy novel, but where you play the heroes. You may have played other role-playing games, or this may be your introduction two worlds of new adventure. Either way, welcome friends to the world of Blue Rose for Aldea and the Queen. Dicey says, I like little adventures as an example of what the designers expect the game to play like, at least. Yeah. And I guess some games do that through like examples of play sections. And I guess you could just like go for a full like little adventure. Anyway, I'm opinionated. You all know this. So the framing here is that we have heroes. Now that's not capital H heroes necessarily. Not that they would use that framing, but we'll take that with a grain of salt. We are going to uphold fairness, justice, and equality. Okay, so this is a game where you're playing the good guys. This is not a game to play your morally compromised. Well, maybe it is. We'll find out. But it's not your dark anti-hero game. It doesn't seem anyhow. You've got aggressive neighbors, which is interesting to me. So one of the things that I've talked about in New Dawn, once again, yes, Pathfinder 2, play-by-post mega campaign, is that for the majority of the campaign, it's been about a central location that we're building up, and it is home, and it is safe, and bad stuff is out there. And so you go out there to deal with bad stuff, or sometimes bad stuff attacks you at home, but the bad stuff is not in your home, necessarily. Present timeline as an exception, because we kind of have some crummy people running things in the town right now. But so this seems to be in a similar vein of like home is safe. It's the aggressive neighbors that are the challenge, potentially. We have a fundamentalist theocracy, which is bold. That's a bold thing to cast as an enemy, but we do what we do. And the Dark Land of Kern with monstrous rulers. So we'll see what that's all about, maybe. Okay, what is role-playing? We will, should we skip it? I'm going to see if they're going to say anything broadly new. Okay, skimming. Okay, I'm going to read this. Role-playing is much like cooperative fan fiction or simulation gaming, where a group of people work together to build a fun and exciting story. Although it is the narrator's job to portray the various antagonists in the story, as well as the hero's allies, the narrator isn't playing against everyone else. In fact, it's the narrator's job to help ensure everyone has fun and that the group tells an enjoyable story. So we are deviating from, forgive me if I use the wrong words, but trad gaming, traditional gaming, which was very challenge-based. It was the players versus the GM, the DM, the dungeon master who was trying to challenge them. And in some cases, win in really, limited interpretations of that. And sometimes, you'd have still a dungeon master trying to present challenges that wasn't trying to actively win and defeat the players, but was doing more of this. In any case, this is language you see very commonly in modern games. To remind you all to not be jerks to each other. Think of a role-playing game like an extended version of the various games of make-believe we all played as children, only with rules to help guide the story and a central narrator to set the stage and keep things moving along. This is for Runelord. This paragraph is for Runelord. Runelord's a friend of the channel, and I feel like this is their vibe as far as how they tackle games. Great. So I wanted to highlight this because I saw this term, cooperative fan fiction, which is a bold statement for describing role-playing. I don't think many people would go that far, but this game is, and it's saying this is what you're going to get out of it. So I think that's cool. What is romantic fantasy? Now, this is where we're gonna go super deep here. Blue Rose is a role-playing game about romantic fantasy, italicized. But what is that exactly? In the high fantasy quests of authors like J.R.R. Tolkien, or the larger-than-life swords and sorcery of Robert E. Howard, Fritz Leiber, and others, heroic loners or small groups of rebels, outcasts, or eccentrics perform great deeds and go on quests to obtain power and glory, or to protect the world from some dire threat. In the mid-1980s, a generation of new fantasy authors, Diane Duane, I'm going to kill these names, sorry, Mercedes Lackey, Tamara Pierce, and many others, wrote fantasy novels different from any that had come before. The main characters in the novels occasionally started out as loners and outcasts before finding their place in society, generally as members of some prominent group or official organization that goes on exciting adventures to protect ordinary people from danger. Developing a sense of belonging and finding comrades are central features of these stories. Most of these novels are in series, and by the end of the first book, the main character has usually discovered a community where they belong. Many of the characters' subsequent adventures involve either becoming a more fully integrated member of this group or protecting the group from harm. That's very interesting. And I haven't read any of these authors. I haven't read anything from this entire generation of fantasy, which is tragic that I'm so unexposed to this. But that's that's an interesting through line. So I guess the contrast here is it's saying in high fantasy quests, you have groups that go off and they kind of stay solo and they're accomplishing a mission, whereas here the contrast is they are finding their place in society as a member of a group, and then they have that thing to defend and to love and to protect, and that is very much about how like New Dawn plays out. Now that I'm thinking about it, you love Dwayne, Laggy, and Pierce, notably all women pro LGBTQ LGBT2. I think what threw me off is I was waiting for the Q, but it wasn't there, and then it said 2, which rhymes with Q, and then it all went south, and it all came crashing down. But we got there in the end. So this is neat. Maybe New Dawn is romantic fantasy, and not in the romance sense, like in like this sense. Developing. Okay, we reread that. Okay, that's a very interesting theme. I like it. Few of these novels contain elves, dwarves, or similar fantasy races, and many contain few or no other humanoid species at all. Instead, humans share their world with one or more types of intelligent or semi-intelligent animals, sometimes with a few magical human subspecies. Some of the intelligent animals are simply bright, psychic pets, while others are free-willed, powerful spirits with animal bodies. This is really fascinating to me. And I don't know how else to even say that. Like, I have not been exposed to this movement in fantasy, in writing, in authorship. And this kind of feels new and familiar at the same time. It's neat. Romantic fantasy novels are often set in highly egalitarian societies where people's occupations and aspirations are not limited by fixed gender roles. In these books, cultures and individuals that are sexist or homophobic are either ignorant and see the error of their ways somewhere in the series, or they are enemies who are eventually vanquished. Okay. Drawn lines. You love to see it. Yeah, this is neat too. Okay. Now, I don't know that much about Glorantha or RuneQuest, but I recall one of the things that I thought was really cool about reading role-playing in Glorantha, RuneQuest role-playing in Glorantha, is that it had a very broad approach to how it handled gender. And I wouldn't say necessarily that the tribes and things in RuneQuest are egalitarian societies, but it does seem like maybe those designers were hearkening back to elements of this movement, the romantic fantasy movement, which could be, again, because this over here is like my friend Runelord, and this over here is also appreciated by my friend Runelord, who's all about RuneQuest. So, interesting. Heralds of Valdemar series had horse and griffin allies, I think. That's neat. I like that. Very cool. All right. The heroes of romantic fantasy novels are usually environmentally conscious. Protecting wilderness areas and animals from depredation is a common plot element. In all romantic fantasy worlds, nature is a positive magical force, and anyone who protects it is on the side of good. Wow. This really draws some very, very hard lines. And it feels familiar, and I feel like somewhere along this stream I'm going to unlock a memory and be like, oh, this reminds me of this series. Like, this feels so familiar to me, and I can't quite place it. Kind of reminds me of the Word in the Void series, which I've talked about before. I got the first book on that. Did I get the second one too? Oh, I did get the second one the other day. These books, which eventually Terry Brooks linked into the Shannara series, but they were, again, I need to research this. They are sort of a prequel. This is modern, like 90s modern world with magic going on in the background. And there's elements of what I'm reading here that are reminding me of these books. The preservation of nature, a lot of like the good aligned entities are kind of like fey in nature and in very nature coded. So a funny enough, then these linked into the Shannara novels, which the original Shannara novel was published in 1976, which was a straight ripoff of Lord of the Rings. And the publishers knew it, but Terry Brooks didn't. He didn't realize that he was ripping it off, but the publisher was just like, we actually want to see if the market will sustain more Lord of the Rings likes. And it did. It was very successful. So it was very derivative of Lord of the Rings, but he was a 18-year-old, I think, at the time, author, just putting his first book together. So like, it's still impressive, but definitely revisits a lot of the same tropes. So then you go back and you write a different prequel series that almost is of a different genre in a way, which is kind of neat. I think it's aspirational versus gritty, or pseudo-historical realist like A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. A lot of modern, diverse fantasy was inspired by those authors. Yeah, it's so wild to me that I'm so ignorant about this stuff. I don't like that feeling of ignorance. Like, I feel like, I dropped the ball somewhere in the last 30 years. Psychic horses from Harold Mage are definitely a big example of what they are referring to. Psychic horses, yeah. Very cool. Valdemar was huge for several gay friends as kids. Well, yeah. I don't know. I missed out. It's never too late. Attitudes about magic also differ from other fantasy novels. Instead of the scholastic magic of some stories, magic as a rare and powerful discipline involving complex rituals and arcane lore, many characters have innate psychic or arcane powers as natural to them as sight and hearing. Heroic characters can often manipulate the natural elements and use their powers with nothing more than concentration and intent. These powers are seen as both an innate and positive part of someone's nature and are only feared by the ignorant or evil. Yeah. I mean, how many stories are there of somebody who has a magic, and then there's this internal like warring of like, is it good, is it bad? I would say like this is where a Knight of the Word, Running with the Demon, which I just showed, deviates, because Nest has some magic. And she's constantly like, is this a gift or a curse, or like, what's the story with this? And the story is very much about that tension. Here it's like, no, there's no tension here. Like, magic is good, nature is good. If you have them, you use them, they're good. Very cool. A few LGBTQ protagonists, definitely rare in that era, I'm sure. So that's neat. More traditional magic does occasionally appear in these novels, but it's usually only practiced by villains to bind others to their will or to summon horrific creatures and spirits from other planes of existence. The only motives given for performing such magic are a hunger for power or a desire for revenge. This type of magic is unnatural, dangerous, and often corrupting. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, because there's a very specific word here. Instead of the scholastic magic, it's innate. Okay. Funny enough. Well, no, that's not really a good parallel. Never mind. But here's where it says traditional magic, and then it casts it in this almost universally negative light. By villains, binding others, summon creatures, spirits from other planes of existence. But it doesn't say evil magic. It says traditional magic. Are you reading the subtext there? This is like low-key, like super subtle revolutionary shit to be writing in your game. That's pretty cool. Blue Rose takes these elements of romantic fantasy to create a world of adventure where you can build your own heroes and forge your own stories. Okay. We need, for starters, yeah. A critique of patriarchy for starters. The first thing you need is a group of friends to play with. One of you is going to be the narrator. 3 to 6 players. 6 is a lot. Can be done, but it's a lot. Okay. Running a game is fun, but it is a different experience than playing. Of course it is. Everyone needs to make a character. Okay, this is interesting. Your character is your primary responsibility as a player in a role-playing game. Fair enough. You could make arguments that shouldn't be your primary responsibility in different types of games, but the fact that this one says it is, then sure, go for it. But where it says here, this is your alter ego in the fantasy world of Aldea. How do I even broach this topic? there would be people who just disagree with this, and they would say, nope, my character is not an alter ego. My character is just a pawn, and I am moving it around, and my consciousness is entirely separate from it, and whatever. There's a chance, there's a way for those two viewpoints to coexist, but it's interesting that they call it out as the alter ego here. And again, maybe somebody just wrote this, and they're like, quick, let's write this paragraph, and they didn't have so much intention on every word. But I like to read texts as if every word was chosen for a specific reason, and also survived editorial passes where even if an editor said, hey, I want to change this, that would go back to the writer, and they'd be like, no, that's there for a reason. So the fact that it survives into print, to me, communicates that there was an additional layer of intention. Somebody could be lazy and just throw out a bunch of stuff, but I'm not getting that sense. I'm feeling like a lot of this so far is very intentional. Anyway, I'm running myself out of breath. Okay. The portrayal and development of your character is all up to you. Now, that's also not entirely true in all games. Most recent example that we've looked at on this channel is a game like Defy the Gods, where there is a mechanic for when you become beholden to somebody, and there is a mechanical exchange of a token or something like that, and they can then invoke moves to do things that change how your character feels about them, or to invoke a favor from you. So in those games where you're releasing some of that control, you're also getting some of the control of other characters in exchange. So it's an equitable trade, but it is not the case that the portrayal of your character is all up to you. So some games, play with this a little differently. This one seems to be saying, you're going to retain full autonomy. So it's important to call out. Playing your hero, achieving goals, and navigating the challenges and perils of a fantasy world. These are the things you will be doing. This is the fun of taking part in a role-playing game. Playing your character. Okay, let's see what they have to say about this. I'm interested in the context of romantic fantasy. When playing a role-playing game, that's the question you must ask yourself all the time. What do you do? I like to append this, or not append. Prepend? Is that a word? Is prepend a word? Somebody smart will tell me. I would say my go-to phrase for role-playing has always been, imagine you are this character. What do you do? So that's kind of the 1-2 punch for me. Step one is imagine you are this character. And again, not with like the super bleed and like I become them, but like, no, take a minute to think through, just like you would think through a Lord of the Rings scenario where you say, okay, it's Frodo Baggins, but Frodo is in Star Wars. Knowing what you know about Frodo, what would Frodo do in Luke's place? That's the imagination I'm talking about, is like just think through based off of what you know about the character. Anyway, side rant, sorry. The narrator describes a situation, framing a scene for the heroes. It is then up to you to decide what your character does and why. We're going to go back to that. You tell the narrator what you want to do, as do the other players, and then you all work out what happens. Sometimes you use dice to resolve actions in a specific order. At other times, you simply interact with the other players and the characters portrayed by the narrator, who are known as non-player characters or NPCs. Prepend is a word. We got it. We got it, team. So smart. I used Latin roots to form a word that I thought should be a word, and it was. How about that? Very good. Okay, so this section here, this is cool. This has been written in games for, forever, it feels like. But it's still surviving into modern games to this day. Key example, Legend of the Mist has 3 different levels of resolution system. It has simple resolution, where you don't roll any dice, and the GM just tells you what happens. Quick, which has like a single die roll resolution, where you can resolve kind of big swaths of things at a time if you want. And then detailed, which is where you get into the really crunchy statuses and tags and everything like that. But it has these different layers of resolution, and so does this game. It's just tucked here in paragraph style, and it's not called out as a different mechanical thing, but it's the exact same. It says sometimes you use dice, sometimes you don't. And Here it doesn't give a specific direction as to when or why. That will presumably come later. Games are usually pretty good at telling you when they expect you to roll dice because that helps set what the game cares about. If a game asks you to roll dice, it's telling you this is what this game is about. So you need to stop, slow down, and resolve it in a way that is informed by the mechanics and the choices you've made so far. But we need to go back because this sentence, it is then up to you to decide what your character does and why. So it says decide. You see that? Okay, do you know why I came back to this sentence? If I can't find the words, maybe you can pick it up. The phrase decide why is not actor stance. It's author stance. And again, there's this thing, it's called stances. There's articles written about it. I haven't read them. I came up with a system that worked for me, and this is how I apply that system. When you make a decision for the character, what do you consult as the most important reason for their decision? Number 1, actor stance, what the character would do, and that can be used for good or for evil. It's what my character would do. If that's not healthy for the game, is a bad thing. But that's actor stance. You are trying to live fully in the character and decide what they would do based off of all the information that's come before. Number 2, author stance. You make your decisions based off of what you, the player, would like to see for the character. So there's a separation there. And this is where it says decide what they do, fine. Decide why they do it is authorial. You are crafting the reasons behind the decisions that they're making. You are deciding them. You are not consulting them. I refer to this as consulting like the personality matrix of a character that you've built up based off of their past, their history, everything that comes before. So this is an interesting sentence to me, just purely for my own interest. Okay. Let's see, where did we end up? Who are you? This is the question to keep in mind when making decisions. When you create your hero, you choose things like their goals and strong and weak personality traits. I wonder if that's mechanical. That's cool. You can then flesh your character out further. There are 2 basic approaches to this. The first is to paint your hero in a few broad strokes and then jump right into playing. The intention here is to come up with details about your character during play, often using the springboard of the current story to create connections to the past. Backfilling. Very good. A PC can know why they are making the decisions they are making without being author stance. A PC can know why they... Yes, you're correct. Yes. Yep. But this sentence is written to the player. Was why I'm reading it that way. Here we go. This is a common storytelling technique and a perfectly valid approach if you don't want to spend a lot of time working on your hero before starting play. The second approach is to come up with a lot of details and role-playing ideas before the first game session. If you can come to the table with a good idea of who your character is before the first dice are even rolled, that can help get the game going. Now, this is presented as 2 options, but it's really a spectrum. We get that. Basically, it's saying like, hey, you don't have to have it all fleshed out. And I would say maybe you shouldn't have it all fleshed out, but there's a spectrum of how much detail you want to bring. I order a cheeseburger because I'm hungry, sure. However you approach your character, playing the game will help you refine your ideas. After you have played your hero for a while, you should have a strong sense of their personality and an intuitive sense of what they would do in a particular situation. Of course, not all situations present easy choices, and it is from difficult decisions that tension and drama emerge. This is also very interesting to me in rules text. If you want to call this rules text. It's a rule book. Anyway, after you have played your hero for a while, you should have a strong sense of their personality. That's a bold thing to say in certain circles. And an intuitive sense of what they would do in a particular situation so that you can live through the character's eyes and make choices through the character's eyes. So this, to me, is saying more actor stance style. And again, well, not again because I didn't say it this time, but that whole system of like how you make your decisions. Which, by the way, the third one is director stance, where you're making decisions for the benefit of the story at large or the table at large, like you're looking at it very much from the outside in. Anyway, this is more what I would consider more on the actor side because, it is a spectrum there as well. Like, people engage with decision-making at different ways at different times. That's just a common thing. Okay, adventure series and settings. An adventure is a discrete story and scenario, like a single novel or an episode of a TV show. Okay. This is just talking about structure. A series is interlinked adventures. Fine. Very good. They grow, they learn, they go from level 1 to 20. All of these stories take place in the setting of Blue Rose, the fantasy world of Aldea, particularly the region centered around Aldis, the kingdom of the Blue Rose. The first 3 chapters of this book detail the history, geography, and cultures of that world. The setting of individual adventures can be anywhere within the context of the nations and regions described in chapters 2 and 3. Okay, moving on. The group dynamic. Much of this book is focused on teaching you the rules and how to make a character. It is important to remember that role-playing is a social activity. There are 2 aspects to this, the adventuring group and the player group. That's neat. I like calling out the 2 groups, not just player and character, but player group and adventuring group. Your hero is one member of an adventuring group, also known as a party. Each character in the group has individual goals, but there are also larger group goals. Characters may have their disagreements and even conflicts, but for the game to go on, they must remain together. The adventures themselves often assure this by their plot and structure, but a good group dynamic can help. This can start during character creation when everyone is settling on what they want to play. It's a smart idea, for example, to make sure you have at least one character of each class in the group. When working out goals and relationships, you can build in reasons for the characters to work together. And you should. Not only can you, but you should. We went over that a little bit in our Lone Wolves and Wanderers stream, which was talking about how you should come to the table with somebody who is going to work with the group. And if you want to do a lone wolf, figure it out ahead of time. Say, hey, I'm starting out as this lone wolf, but I'd like to tell the story about how they open up and connect with the group. That's where I'm going with this. So it might be, there might be some tension that comes from it, but I am acknowledging that we are all here to play a game together. So the people gaming with you make up the player group, and that too has a dynamic. You and your friends are going to be spending a lot of time together, so you want a group of people who fundamentally get along. It's meant to be fun for everyone. Be aware of tension. Some players try to make the game all about them. Don't act that way. Everyone deserves a chance to shine. Likewise, some players may make others uncomfortable with inappropriate behavior. Make it clear such behavior won't be tolerated. The game is about everyone having fun, and that can't happen unless everyone also feels comfortable and at ease. That is well said. Not to be confused with a lone wolf. Yeah. Yep. If a game session didn't go well for some reason, talk about it afterwards. It won't do any good if everyone goes home to stew. This is so funny. There's the classic trope of people going to Reddit, and they're just like, what do I do with my player group? Here's the situation, and they type up an entire essay, and then the people in the top comments are usually like, did you talk to them about this? Or did you just come to Reddit to info dump your campaign information? So this is cool. Talk about it afterwards. And it doesn't say this here, but the implication, it won't do any good if everyone goes home to stew. So when they say afterwards, they don't mean sometime. They mean right then. Do it right then. Try to figure out where things went wrong and see if you can come up with solutions so it doesn't happen again. If players have concerns, encourage them to bring them up for discussion. This takes so much vulnerability from the narrator to be open to the fact that they are the facilitator, and they are kind of they have the biggest opportunity to put their hand on the culture of the group and the harmony of the group. So that's not to say that players can't also contribute to that, but at the end of the day, the responsibility, if it's going to land anywhere, would reasonably land on the narrator. So for them to be vulnerable and say, hey, where did things go wrong? How could I have steered things, guided things to not go as wrong? I think that's important. I know we're spending a lot of time on kind of basic RPG stuff and not really getting to the game, so thank you for your patience. This is how we do it. A common problem is a player who is unhappy with their character. Maybe the character doesn't fit into the group well, or perhaps the player finds another class preferable after some play experience. This doesn't have to be an issue. It's perfectly fine for a player to make a new hero of the same level and retire the old one. It's preferable to do that than to make a player continue playing a character they aren't enjoying. So this is breaking again with the trad. You have to earn it. You've got to go through the grind. You've got to whatever. This is just like, hey, like let's cut through this and just get to the business. I'm running for a group right now that was amazed by stars and wishes at the end of a session. I assume they have not had many great groups. Oh, yeah. You know what's funny? I've never done formal stars and wishes, but I just do a lot of check-ins, frankly. Like just yesterday, I was checking and I was like, hey, I haven't GM'd in a while. Sorry if I'm not doing a good job. Please let me know if anything's not clear. I'm not trying to be difficult or obfuscate information. I just might be like relearning how to communicate with you all. Basic game concepts. Here we go. Dice. Okay. This does use a D3. You roll a D6, but have the result. Yeah. D6, 2D6, 3D6. We get it. We know how those work. Characters. To play Blue Rose, you create a character. You can play a human, one of several humanoid races, or a Raiden, an intelligent psychic animal. You then pick one of 3 classes. So we kind of have, okay, there are several humanoid races, but I think the 3 core umbrellas are human, other humanoid, or intelligent psychic animal. Which is so bold. They're just like, yeah, these are your choices. You then pick one of 3 classes, adept, expert, or warrior. Your class defines the core of your character and determines the powers at your command in play. Your character begins at level 1. By surviving encounters and overcoming challenges, they gradually gain experience and increase in level. So this is very, this is, again, like, even though the age system didn't get published in 2005, the original Blue Rose was published in 2005, and carrying that DNA forward of that era of the early 2000s is in the Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition lineage. I don't know when 3.5 came out, what year. I want to say it was like 07 or something like that. I might be wrong. And then Pathfinder 1 in 09. So even all the way up through that entire decade, there was still a lot of this like gaining experience points, leveling up. I'll be very interested to see how you gain experience in this game. If it's just from fighting monsters, I think I will be disappointed based off of everything it's shown so far. So hopefully you get experience points for doing things like building relationships, building community, those sorts of things. We'll see. Okay. Tests. Your character has 9 abilities, such as intelligence and strength. 9, really. And each has a numeric rating, with 1 being average. Okay, so we're getting away from the 3 to 18. Fascinating. When your character wants to do something, the narrator may call for an ability test. This is a dice roll to determine success or failure, and it's the most common roll in the game. To make it an ability test, you simply roll 3 6-sided dice, 3d6, add the results together, and add the appropriate ability. This generates a test result, which you want to be as high as possible. Yeah. Yes, it did. All right. You may have to apply other bonuses or penalties, most commonly ability focuses that represent areas of special expertise. Okay. So that's kind of like a skill focus, but they're doing it to abilities instead, which is interesting. Once you determine your test result, the narrator will let you know if it's a success or failure and what happens. So it is a binary system, it appears. But maybe there's something else to do with that. Stunts. Now, this is neat tech. In combat, specifically, your character can perform stunts. When doubles are rolled on a test, this generates stunt points. You can then use these points to pull off a number of special effects or maneuvers. Stunts help to keep gameplay dynamic and fun and ensure characters get opportunities to do the kinds of amazing and impressive things heroes do. I have a lot of thoughts about this, and they're almost universally positive at this stage. You can have a system that's really prescriptive with what you can do. Pathfinder 2 would be an example of this. If you don't have the feat that lets you do the thing, you can't do the thing. If you don't have the action that lets you do the thing, you can't do the thing. And you might say, well, why? Why can't I just let them do the thing? Well, you can. However, you're going to find yourself in a place where you're letting people do things that otherwise should have taken a feat, which would have been an investment they would have had to put in to do the thing. And because they didn't have to do it, they were able to pick something else with that feat, something more universally applicable, like increasing your movement speed by 5 feet with the fleet feat. And now you're going to find yourself allowing all sorts of things that you say, well, it makes sense you'd be able to do that in the fiction, so I'm just going to let you do it. But now you have all of these dead choices printed in the book, and everybody's going to take the same base core feats for everything. Fleet, toughness, whatever the one is that gives extra magic attunement. And you're going to have a bunch of same-ass looking characters running around. And then they're just going to creatively do whatever they want, whenever they want, because you're being permissive. You can do it. But it doesn't come without consequences. And if you want to manage those consequences as a game master, fine. More power to you. That's fine. But this seems to be saying, I'm going to mechanically give you a way to do cool things so that we don't have to play this game of do you not have the feat. You're earning the points by rolling doubles, which is random. And unless there's some mechanic that's going to let us mess with die results, like this is just like every now and then you get a fun little bonus and you can do fun little extra things with it. Cool, right? And if you're rolling 3d6, the chances of getting doubles are decent. So I like this in principle. We'll see how we like it in execution. I know I'm jumping way ahead, but is XP even a thing in this game? I think it says right here, gain experience. So whatever method they use to mean gain experience, then I don't know. But we'll see. Maybe it's just, maybe the whole thing is just milestone. I don't know. Hey, Lexi, how are you doing? Good to see you. Improved initiative is another one. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. The world of Aldea. Blue Rose is set in the enchanted world of Aldea, which, in the language of the Old Kingdom, means the lands. I love that. And it is how modern folk refer to the world. The lands presented in Blue Rose are just a fraction of the greater world, a region encompassing 5 nations and the surrounding territory, but still well over 1,000 miles across, centered on the city and nation of Aldis, this land or the land. The center of the Old Kingdom and the New. Yeah, 100%, yeah. No, it definitely has. It is of the era that it was created, for sure. But that said, I'm really interested to see how intensely they've incorporated the themes of their genre into what the play experience looks like in the context of an F20 game. That's what I'm most excited to see, because it has different core baseline assumptions, like that earlier paragraph where it talked about heroic fantasy versus romantic fantasy. So I'm very interested to see if they actually, if what comes out of the machine is really that much different than what heroic fantasy would be. And maybe it's not, and maybe really what this is it's just a guidebook for a GM at large to create romantic fantasy using what's basically boiled down to F20. And that can be valuable as well, but I'm really interested to see if they do that systemically. Okay, I probably am not going to dive into the setting, so, like, should I? We might come back to it. We'll say it that way. Got some cool character art here. This is a really cool looking instrument head, neck thing. That looks very fragile. I hope that's not made of wood. I like her look, though. I would like to steal that look. Yeah, and we definitely have... Okay, so other humanoid races, this guy is either really pale, which is fine, or he's something else. And then here's your intelligent animals. Maybe setting for another stream? Yeah, potentially. Yeah, if we like it, if we like the vibe, we can come back to this for sure. There's a piece of art. Oh my god. Okay, should I find it right now? I should. There's a piece of art in here that absolutely was like one of my favorite pieces of art I've ever seen in a game book. Oh, I'm gonna end up scrolling all over the place. Okay, hold on. I really want to find this and show it to you guys, because I was making the thumbnail and I was like, I really want to use this art, but it doesn't tell you anything about the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a really sweet piece of art. I should also mention, because I randomly scrolled to a page, there is a additional subsystem within this game that lets you use tarot card resolution for stuff, and I think that's so cool. Because because I don't have to explain myself. 206. Oh, I guess 209. I was close. I was trying to remember. It was 204. Well, yeah, 204. And I also just found another awesome piece on 229. Okay, let's go show you these. Go back here. So, check out this art. Look at that. Look, I'm a sucker for it because it has stars. in the night sky, and like just this like again, it's this soft like look. I love it. But here's the real. This is again, like I saw this and I melted. Look at that. Oh, it's so good. I love the colors. This makes me think of Theros, Magic the Gathering setting. Except for that has really heavy Greece inspiration. This is just, I could just stare at this forever. So yeah, I almost put this in the thumbnail, and I was like, it doesn't really show you what Blue Rose is, so I can't use it. But if I do another stream, I could. All right, did anybody who had London? Anybody know what page I was on? Let's guess 10. Nope, I hadn't gotten that far yet. Oh God. Okay. Yeah, the colors are great, aren't they? Super great. All right. So yeah, we'll kind of skim through that. No, we won't. Okay, listen, I've decided. We're gonna at least like get the gist of it. The great city of Aldea, in the midst of a vast and fertile stretch of land along the Western Ocean, was once the heart of the Old Kingdom, which rose to greatness long ago. The Old Kingdom fell into corruption, however, overthrown by the vile sorcerer kings, who established their empire of thorns and spread shadow across the known world. In time, a great rebellion arose to overthrow the sorcerer kings, aided by the Raiden, thinking animals with arcane powers, and the mystical Golden Heart. I love that. Virtually all of the sorcerers were defeated, but not all of them, just virtually. And Aldea and the surrounding lands were free from their dominion. So we know that it has cast what it calls traditional magic as this evil, self-serving, power-hungry style of magic, and that's what this appears to be. Sorcerer kings. And then there was a rebellion, aided by the Raiden, which are the thinking animals with arcane powers, which ties back into this sense of nature being a universal power for good. So, the themes are theming. Then they've rebuilt themselves. Good. To Aldea's east lies the theocracy of Jarzon, once a part of the vast Old Kingdom, now an independent nation, governed by the priests of the Church of Pure Light. Oh, White Cloaks. Kind of. These priests led the dangerous rebellion against the forces of Shadow and are now determined their land and people will never again fall under its yoke, no matter the cost. This is thematically heavy. Like, when you're protecting yourself from an evil, what do you become to, like, guarantee that? Or do you leave room for people to disappoint you, but aspire to your best nature? I don't know. Jarzon is a land of harsh realities where devotion to faith and a demanding creed have allowed people to survive and prosper. They are suspicious of outsiders, including the people of Aldea, who seem to embrace many of the liberties the purists believe led the Old Kingdom to ruin. Some Jarzoni are intrigued by foreign ways, while others would like nothing more than to improve discipline and sense upon their neighbors to avert disaster. That's very interesting. I could see good characters coming out of here. And I don't mean good as in good versus evil. I mean good as in quality. Like, there's a lot to play with there. I love how hard it goes on feminist critique of that sterile, detached patriarchal power in the ivory tower. Yeah. I didn't pick up on that, but I'm glad you're here to do it. Yeah, that is a thing. Jarzon knows full well what is at stake, for to the south and east of their lands lie the Shadow Barrens, a vast wasteland devastated by the rise of the Sorcerer Kings and the Shadow Wars that followed. Once the beautiful land of Fernaria. I guess. It is now inhabited only by dark fiends, twisted shadow spawn, and the tormented souls of the unliving. Fernaria's remaining people have become the roamers, vagabonds without a homeland who travel the roads of Aldea in their small bands. This is kind of giving, well, whatever. Everything I know I refer back to Wheel of Time because it's like the only thing I've read in the last decade. It's giving Aiel a little bit. Harsh land, roaming survivors, whatever. Also, because I've clearly decided to read most of this, I will go back for this paragraph. Sorry for jumping around. In the centuries since, Aldea has rebuilt itself as a society devoted to justice and peace for its people. Its governing nobles are selected through a rigorous series of tests, the last of which is the touch of the legendary Blue Rose Scepter, which reads the heart and spirit to determine if the subject is truly worthy and well-intentioned. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let me just put D Priest's comment back on the page. The nobility is based on the heart and spirit, not family lineage, not passed down power, not nepotism. That's wild. That's wild. Okay. Cool. The sovereign of the nation is likewise not determined by birth or conquest, but selected by the golden heart, the embodiment of the collective will and wisdom of the people. What? That's amazing. Man. Yeah. So this is definitely saying, okay, like, here's a system that's been set up, and like, home is safe. That's the vibe I'm getting. Home is safe, and you can go out on an adventure or prevent danger from coming to you. But home is safe. I love that. For generations, the Kingdom of the Blue Rose, as it is also known, has restored and rebuilt much of what was lost during the Shadow Wars and protected itself and its people from its enemies while seeking to build peace and understanding between all peoples. It sounds wonderful. It sounds lovely. Keep in mind that while you may pass the test of being noble, it doesn't mean you stay that way, so corrupt nobles still exist. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. All right, the Plains of Rizea. To the west of Aldea stretch the great Plains of Rizea, home to clans of nomadic people who follow the migration and lead of their beloved horses across the grasslands from foaling to wintering grounds. I'm in love with this, because I'm a horse girly. The Rizeans are a fierce and free people, not always friends of their Alden neighbors to the east, but the envoys of the crown seek to maintain good relationships with the various clans. Rizeans trade their goods and horses, and some of them serve as mercenaries or raiders in the nearby lands. I would like to make a Rizean, please. I would like to make a horse girl character. I have horse guy character, and I have girl character in New Dawn, but I don't have horse girl character. See? Do you see the problem? The Golden Heart part was added due to a criticism of 1E Blue Rose that it just reinforces monarchical systems of government. You know what? That's cool, though, that they're like, we went for this vibe. And like, there's this whole, the world is complicated, right? And sometimes we can forget that progress is still progress. And we can get into the sort of the purity testing of whether something is good enough, right? But the true measure of it isn't that you got it right on the first try. It's did you advance the ideas that you want to see manifest in the world? And then when people find criticism or challenge with them, how do you respond to that? And it sounds like, and thank you for being here and like sharing the context of some of this. It sounds like when they were made aware of that, they went, oh, you know what? That is right. We did let some more implicit bias slip in. How could you not? We are a product of the world that we're raised in. Let's do something to address that. And we'll add in this element. I think that's awesome. That's so cool. The Kingdom of Kern, north of the vast forest of the Pavin Weald and the sentinel peaks of the Icebinder Mountains lies the dark Kingdom of Kern, the last remnant of the domains of the Sorcerer Kings. It is a bleak land where slaves work the mines and smelting furnaces, and common people scratch out a rough existence through subsistence farming or working in the slums or wealthy houses of the great city of Sarn. The evil Lich King Jarek once ruled Kern, but it was destroyed in conflict with Aldea and its queen. Now Jarek's closest lieutenants, the so-called Shadowed Seven, vie for power and control within the kingdom while maintaining a fragile alliance against outside forces that would see Kern wiped from the face of the world, given the opportunity. Sooner or later, a new ruler will seize power in Kern, and the Dark Kingdom may threaten the world once more. Well, the Matriarchy of Lartia. sail from the southern shores of Aldea past the islands of the Scatter Star Archipelago. I love archipelagos. To the south and west, and you will reach the isles of the Matriarchy of Lartia, a tropical paradise where the local people took in refugees from the shadow wars of the mainland long ago. The Matriarchy has a strict caste system ruled by women who are considered the most fit to rule and manage society's affairs. So we're going a little Amazon here, which is great. After the Great Rebellion, Lartia reestablished ties with the mainland nations, becoming a trading partner to many, but remaining carefully neutral in all other matters. Still, the influence of outsiders has begun to change Lartian culture, and not for the better, according to some. There is even a nation, Holomog, I think is what it's called, in Galarian Pathfinder, and it is a nation to the south that is a matriarchal society ruled by women. That's redundant. Anyway, so it's interesting that you can see these themes, that they're usually like semi-located in these fantasy regions in similar spaces to where we have conceptions of, where these things were in our world. It's neat. The Golden Heart decided the ruler. The change is that the Golden Heart represents the collective will of the kingdom. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. A world of arcane adventure. In some regards, Aldea is not unlike our own world during the Renaissance and the Great Age of Sail, a pre-industrial civilization where rigged ships and spyglasses and astrolabes are among the most advanced technologies. In other ways, Aldea is a very different world. Indeed, a world of arcane and spiritual powers that have shaped civilization and the destinies of its people. I like this vibe. It's not like it's gone unseen in other games. That's plenty of games are like this. But I do appreciate when games talk about the technologies. 7th Sea, 2nd edition, went to extreme trouble to call out specifically what the technology levels are. Because there's such a thing going on with I forget what the church is called. I haven't looked at 7th Sea in a long time. But there's a lot to do with that. That impacts the story. So I appreciated it though. When I read it in that book, I was like, they're really making sure you understand where technology is and is not. Arcana. Nowhere is the nature of Aldea more clear than in the existence of arcana, supernatural powers wielded by certain people. Those with the right talents can learn how to sense beyond the 5 physical senses. I'm going to have a thing to say about that. To exert control over their own physiology and that of others, to heal or harm, and to shape and influence the physical world in a wide number of ways. While powerful master adepts who wield many arcana are relatively rare, some degree of talent is found among many people, and some of the races of Aldea possess innate arcane potential. Although arcana are primarily the tools of a living mind and will, arcane energies can infuse inanimate objects, enchanting them towards particular purposes. The existence of arcana and arcane items in Aldea means the technology, quote-unquote, available to some nations like Aldis is far in advance of the bygone eras of our own world, comparable or even greater than the modern world in some regards. Yes, Vadicine Church, you are 100% right. That is the name of it. For example, arcane items provide light, heat, and clean water in the great cities of Aldis without the need for machines or fuel. The ministrations of arcane healers and their arts reduce incidences of disease and allow people to recover from more serious injuries. Plant shapers improve the growth and yield of crops, whilst earth, stone, and water shapers can build more delicately than even the most modern tools. Even warfare is influenced with arcane crystalline wands known as crystons, replacing the existence of gunpowder weapons, save that these enchanted devices cannot kill, merely stun. Wow. There's so much to unpack here. One of the common criticisms of F20 games is people will look at them and say, well, if I can cast Ever-Burning Torch or, whatever spell, then why aren't there streetlights with these everywhere? And if I don't see that in the setting, then there's a disconnect between what we can do mechanically and what actually exists in the setting. And some people get really worked up over that. And one of the ways that you try to mitigate that is you say, well, maybe the magic that the player characters have access to is a little rarer than that. And so maybe it's just, that it's not as commonplace, but it's common for player characters because they're the powerful protagonists of the story. So you can kind of try and solve the divide that way. this is coming right out of the gate, and it's like magic exists, and yeah, the world is a better place for it, because in the romantic fantasy tradition that we started in the first early pages with, it talked about how magic, this innate magic, this arcana, is a positive thing. It is a source of good. It intertwines with nature, and here's all the positive ways they're using it. So yeah, it is addressing that right off the bat by giving you a sort of, maybe not perfect utopian world, but like a world where people are working together collaboratively and they're using their gifts for good. The power of Arcana infuses society as well. Oh, and then to have there's magic weapons, but they can't kill people, is such a nice touch. Because now we're back to talking about our violence in RPGs stream. Have we touched on every stream we've done yet so far? Yeah. The power of Arcana infuses society as well. Truth readers ensure oaths and testimonies are honest to the best of the teller's ability, so can be fooled. And psychics can aid in the treatment of maladies of the mind and spirit. So representation for mental health. In all this, those who would serve the people as their noble leaders must truly be noble, passing the test of the enchanted blue rose scepter, which glows only from the touch of a noble heart. Sorcery. There is a dark side to the arcane arts, however. Arcana is power, and power can be misused towards selfish, cruel, and destructive ends. The shadowy arts of sorcery involve the application of power without regard for consent, compassion, kindness, or the natural order of things, and the rush of power and control that comes with them is both addictive and seductive. The misuse of Arcana led to the rise of the Sorcerer Kings in the Old Kingdom, adepts who cared about no one and nothing more than themselves, who willingly bartered their hearts and souls to Shadow for greater power and control. This is capitalized. We've talked about the evil that can come from individuals, from the misuse of these gifts for selfish reasons. But I have not yet seen the metaphysical entity behind anything of that, which seems like we might be getting a hint there. Capital S, Shadow. Although the united forces of light overcame the shadow and overthrew the Sorcerer Kings, so it remains to be seen, is this a metaphysical reality behind the fabric of the world? Or is this just the names that society has given to those who align themselves with selfishness or, egalitarianism, whatever you want to call it? Okay, the temptations of sorcery still exist, and all wielders of the arcane arts must be on guard against them. Giving in to a momentary weakness to use their great power irresponsibly can lead the gifted down a terrible path, allying them with sinister forces. The people and nations of Aldea remain vigilant against threats, like the Sorcerer Kings, ever arising again, some by teaching understanding and control, and constantly remaining accountable for their actions, others by seeking to ban or destroy all forbidden knowledge to place it beyond the reach of those who might be tempted by it. So there is a spectrum of how people can fight back against this. The different approaches of teaching or forbidding. That's an interesting tension to explore. The peoples of Aldea. Although humans make up the vast majority of people in Aldea, in all the dazzling varieties found in our world, the term person is broader here, meaning any thinking being of free will, for there are peoples other than humans in the world. I'll leave it. I'll just continue. The sea folk are much like humans, but adapted to life both in and out of the waters that are their home, sleek-bodied swimmers with a bluish or greenish tint to their skin and hair. The Vata are half-human descendants of the ancient and venerated Vatazin, who were wiped out by the Sorcerer Kings. Sad. Their descendants include the Vataan, milk-white of hair and skin, and the Vatasha, with white hair but skin as black as night. The Vata all possess a measure of the arcane potential of their ancestors. The Night people are also arcane in nature, but descendants of a slave race flesh crafted by the Sorcerer Kings. So there's your orcs, kind of analog there. Their ancestors won their freedom, and now the Night people seek to make a place for themselves in a world that sometimes still fears and misunderstands them. Sad. The remaining people of Aldea are the most unusual. The Raiden, awakened beasts possessing intelligence, will, and psychic potential. The Raiden arise from many different species of animals, particularly great cats, wolves, horses, dolphins, and bears. They stand between the wild world of nature and civilization and are staunch allies of the light and people of good intent. Raiden honor the great griffins and unicorns of the sylvan and wild places of the world as their nobility and revered leaders, and many Raiden establish a deep friendship and connection, the Rai bond, with representatives of the other peoples. That's cool. I like it. I think it would be a unique challenge to play a Raiden. Because, like, what do you bring to that? And I suppose the book will give us plenty of instruction and guidance on how to play a Raiden. Like, what does it mean to be an intelligent animal that is a person, not an animal? Like, they are an animal, but they're not. They're people. They're all people. And I think that is... I was going to say it here. But this is kind of like a little challenge to your brain. And these little challenges, I think, are sprinkled throughout what we're seeing so far. They're challenging you to think differently about what concessions you grant to people based off of the language you use to describe them. Does that make sense? I was going to say here, there are peoples other than humans in the world. And I was going to say there are genders other than, yada yada in the world. Yeah, that's true. I mean, no, it isn't. They're clearly just a bird. I already know what it is like to be a monkey person, so that's funny. Welcome in, Simon. I saw you follow a little while ago. Good to have you here. All right, where next? Let's see. If you're a player, chapters 1 to 7. If you're a narrator, etc., etc., etc. There's an introductory adventure, Shadows of Tanglewood, to help you launch your Blue Rose series, start your characters off. Guys, we did it. We spent an hour and 15 minutes to get through the first 9 pages, just like I said. Just like I said we would. Now, this might be the Golden Heart, or an artistic representation of the Golden Heart. That is a person. Yeah, just a bird that is definitely not a person. The players section, here we go. And we'll look at the spread here. This is the cover art, just extended out. I love this. I love this imagery, though. I just think that, like, stags are, like, really, really majestic looking creatures. They just always have captured my, like, imagination and attention. I've often seen Raiden players basically playing their pets, as in, like, their real life pets. They give them anima, basically, and they play them in the game. That's neat. Or unless you're saying, playing their pet. Yeah, okay. I think I read that right. So there's your Blue Rose Scepter, presumably, and there's your Golden Heart iconography on the throne. We know about the cats. We have not seen anything telling us about the significance of butterflies, and I wonder if we will. I mean, butterflies are a symbol of growth and change, right? But yeah, the art is good. All right. We need to lock in here. We need to figure out what we want to do and in what order. Yeah, their players paying their pet cat as a PC. That's cool. So, we finished the introduction. We will probably do gameplay basics because we're going to want to make sure we understand the core of the game, and we're going to want to look at that as far as how does it at least hopefully leave space for these themes to show up in game. That's what we're hoping. If it doesn't overtly do it, as long as it leaves space for it and you have the guidance of the rulebook itself, then you create that yourself. It'd be like if we made a Pathfinder 2e rulebook for New Dawn. It would be like, yeah, these are the rules, but like here's what New Dawn is and why it is the way it is. It'll be different. Character creation, we might look at, we might not. Focuses, talents, and specializations. I don't know that we'll get into the nitty gritty today because again, I'm painfully slow, and I think this chapter 1 is going to be the most important thing for us. I do want to look at some of the Arcana though, because the way that that's set up seems very interesting to me. Okay, what has gone before chapter 5? That's going to be about like the history that the players should know. Chapter 6, more about the current modern world, and Chapter 7, lands beyond. So 5, 6, and 7 are setting. So probably won't get to those. Nor should we show all of this because, again, it is a published work that I'm not trying to steal. And the narrator stuff, it might have some really good... Okay, yeah, there's a section here in role-playing romance that we might want to look at. Role-playing intrigue. So probably some good guidance there. Do's and don'ts. Should we skip to that? That sounds really interesting. I'm going to skip to that. I'm going to figure out how this PDF works. What happened? Oh, this is cool. This is, I showed this off, problem player types in Knowing Your Group. I showed this off the other day. In the first edition Pathfinder GM book, Game Mastery Guide, they did this too. They went through... I want to find it. I don't need to find it, but whatever. Wow, I don't remember this page existing either. Okay, let me show you this for a second. This page right here, this wall of text, you see that? You can't read any of it, I know. But that entire page is a solid wall of text. It says, words every game master should know, and they're alphabetically listed. Abase, abash, abattoir, abhorrent, ablution, abscess, abstemious, abstertion, abstruse, accoutre, acephalus, acrid, what? Esculapian, effusion, ague, alembic, alluvium. This is insane. I never knew this page existed. Anyway, long story short, there is a section in here about here it is. And it uses a lot of these same character tropes. Character thespian. Yeah, there's a thespian in here. Rules lawyer, power gamer, tag along. Anyway, each one gets basically their own column. And it's like, guidance on how to deal with those players, how to keep them engaged at the table, how to keep them from causing problems with other players. So yeah. Anyway, as I've said before, my name is in this book too. From my internship back in the day. Cool. This is not what I was looking for, though. So I'm guessing it's going to be down this way further. Do's and don'ts. Here we go. Here's some good general advice to keep in mind when it comes to being a Blue Rose narrator. Do plan ahead. Oh, no. My weakness. Take the time to prepare adventure notes and game materials like those in the information management system. Keep a series journal. Take notes during the game. Keep track of character rewards and advancement. Sure. Do describe things. Oh, no, my other weakness. Oh, this game's coming for me. I have to take this off, too. It's like... It's too warm. It's acting like a scarf. It is your job to paint a picture of the world. Yeah, I know. I just want to roleplay dialogue. Do challenge your players. Let's see what they mean by this. Give the characters challenging but manageable encounters in terms of their game abilities, but also challenge your players with opportunities for role-playing, intrigue, interaction, mysteries, investigations, and so forth. Keep them engaged and trying to get one step ahead to figure out what's coming next or how they are going to overcome the latest problem you've posed for them. Do be flexible. Do focus on the characters. So this is great. This is buried way back here in the back of the book in the GM section, but these are your trad style of like the player and director agendas that you see in Powered by the Apocalypse games. So this is great because this tells you what the game expects from you. Do focus on the characters. Okay. Don't make it all about fighting. Okay, let's read this. While combat encounters and action are a big part of an adventure game like Blue Rose, don't make every encounter a combat or have every interaction end in a fight. And don't let the players make it that way either. Oh, snap. Allow room for investigation, exploration, interaction, and some transitions between encounters to break up the action and provide players interested in other aspects of the game with something to enjoy. Allow for the possibility of avoiding some fights or solving some problems by means other than fighting. This is huge, though. Don't let the players make it that way. Like, if the players are trying to make something into a fight, you just be like, nope, not going to happen. Don't argue. You're expected to referee, so getting into extended arguments is not good. If there's a dispute, discuss it after the game. Okay. Don't be mean. While you should certainly challenge the players and their characters and play the roles of the most vile villains and monsters to the hilt, don't ever be mean about it. That is, don't be unfair when it comes to providing challenges, and certainly don't gloat or take personal delight in a character's failures. Don't step on the players' personal issues or bring them into the game as ways of manipulating or, worse yet, punishing them. In short, the players trust you to be in charge of the game, so don't be a jerk about it. Nice. Don't be boring. Try and keep your descriptions rich and your tone exciting. Maintain a brisk and enjoyable pace. Don't drone, go into details that nobody cares about, etc. Don't worry about it. Oh, I need to read this one. Me, the queen of stress lately. Lastly, and most importantly, remind yourself, this is only a game, and it's supposed to be fun. Don't worry too much about whether or not you're doing things right, so long as everybody is enjoying themselves. If you make a mistake, fix it, and resolve to do better next time. If you forgot some vital piece of information, make something up that fits, and keep on going. The key thing is that the game, like the show, must go on, so you're generally better off keeping things moving than worrying about some detail that will be forgotten during the next exciting encounter. Best of all, if you're not tense or worried about it, your players generally won't be either. Remember, it's your game, so have fun with it. That's good advice. That was a nice little session. Okay, let's go back up to learn how the game works. How game work. Okay, Blue Rose uses a number of simple, straightforward rules to drive play. Practical advice on being a player. Basic rules of play. Ability test, narrative and action time, combat, stunts, and healing. If you feel overwhelmed, you don't need to know this all. You don't have to memorize it. Fine. Player basics. Nuts and bolts of the game system are explained in the next few chapters. Character sheet is a good place to start. The character sheet is the cornerstone of your player character. This is cute. Make sure you bring it to each game session. As playing without it is difficult. Yeah. Make sure it's up to date. Bring dice. Okay. During a session, you will play your character through an adventure. It's the narrator's job to present the adventure and yours to play a leading role. An adventure is played out in a series of scenes known as encounters. Each encounter builds on the last and ultimately leads to a climax and a conclusion. There are three basic types of encounters: combat, exploration, and role-playing. Now, Pathfinder 2 has combat, exploration, and downtime as its three phases. But this spells out having role-playing encounters. Interesting. Oh, times when a player tries to recover from the effects of corruption and other non-combat threats. If you do that through role-playing and actually mechanically get that, that's very cool. That's very cool. That's like an inverted make a connection in Girl by Moonlight, where you make the links ahead of time so that you can deal with the stress that's coming for you. This is like you're dealing with the stress on the back end, potentially. Each type of encounter has different challenges and rewards. Some require a lot of dice rolling, others none at all. All right, ability tests. We know this. Okay. When your character is taking everyday actions that do not have a significant chance of failure, no dice need be rolled. So we are looking for a significant chance of failure. How do we define significant? Probably 30 to 40% or greater, I would say. That's kind of the average, success target range of things is about 60%. If you're specialized into something, it bumps it up to sometimes like 80. And that's just kind of general baseline RPG math. As observed through different systems. I prefer the term social encounter. Calling it roleplay implies you can't roleplay during combat or exploration, which is wrong. Yeah, I wouldn't read that much into it. I agree with you, but I don't think this game is trying to, champion a certain type of roleplay. I just think it's the word they chose to use. But I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's all role-playing. That's the thing. This is role-playing. This is role-playing. This is role-playing. You know. So. All right. Okay, here we go. When you want your character to do something that requires risk or has a real chance of failure, that's when the dice come out. This is the phrase that every game has some variation of this. It will tell you when you're expected to roll the dice. So you wanna consider that every time you're looking at a new game. To resolve actions, you roll an ability test. Ability tests are easy to learn and quick to resolve. 3d6. Now this is the introduction of the drama die. Okay, when I first read this, I was not all about it. I don't even know why I was not about it, but you use one die of the 3 that is a different color, and the off-color die is known as the drama die. You roll all 3, etc., etc. You then add your ability and add another +2 if you have an applicable ability focus. So that's kind of like skill focuses, like I said before. So there you have it. There's your basic formula for how the game runs. 3d6 plus ability plus focus. But here, even if you have several focuses that could apply, you can only use one on a given test. I would then say the one that you use will flavor the description of how that action succeeds or fails, because that makes the choices meaningful. You can never gain the benefits of more than one focus on an ability test. Now, here's the drama die. You always roll 3 dice when making an ability test, 2 dice of one color and 1 die of another. The off-color die is known as the drama die, and it has several uses in the game system. It is used to generate stunt points. I did not realize that. I know doubles did, so we'll have to see how that happens. Measure degrees of success, and to break ties. When you see a reference to the drama die, just remember it is the off-color die for ability tests. Now, this is where I was like, actually, that's kind of awesome. Degrees of success, not even all games, not even all F20 games even really have degrees of success. Degrees, right? Because there's a lot that's binary pass-fail. But even going back further, you did at some point bring in the notion of critical failure, success, critical success. So that's the 4 degrees of success that many systems use. Pathfinder 2 uses that. And Pathfinder 2 has a neat way of triggering critical successes. A lot of older games, it was like it had to be the natural 20, right? Pathfinder 2, a natural 20 doesn't mean a crit success. It means that whatever level of success you got mathematically, you bump it up by 1, which often means it becomes a critical success, but not by definition. The other way to do it is to exceed the challenge by 10 is also a critical success, without having to go into all the crit specialization and all the stuff that 3rd edition had, threat ranges and everything of the sort. I threaten a crit on 17 to 20, but then I also have to confirm the crit, and it's a whole thing. If you know, you know. But having this degree of success built into the die roll itself is neat, because you're looking to see if the number total is a success, and then you're referring back to the drama die. To see what that tells you. Now, I'm surprised they didn't go into more detail here, so it must be coming up. When ability tests are referred to in blue rows, they use the following format: ability, focus. Format. I got it. Intelligence, parentheses, historical lore. This is your focus. So if you're doing intelligence roll, you add your intelligence. If you're doing intelligence that has to do with historical lore, you add that extra bonus. And Constitution Swimming are examples of this format. So this is marrying your abilities to your skills, kind of. In most cases, it does not matter if you have the listed focus. You can still attempt the test, you just won't get the bonus that focus provides. However, some tests do demand specialized skills or knowledge, and those require you to have the focus to even attempt the test. So that would be proficiency gating. If you don't have the required focus, you automatically fail. These tests note that the focus is required by using this format. Intelligence, navigation required. Okay, stunt points. Here we go. Doubles rolled on certain types of tests. Ooh, why not all types of tests? Oh, because stunts are only for combat encounters. That's right. At least that's what it said so far. You can then use these points to pull off various special maneuvers. You might be able to do more damage in combat, make an especially cutting remark in a social situation. Invoke magic in an especially powerful way, or a whole range of other effects. As a general rule, only tests for actions generate stunt points. There we go. That's the certain types part here. Tests to avoid or resist things do not. See combat encounters and non-combat encounters later in this chapter for details on stunts. Now that you have the final result of the ability test, you need to compare it against another number to determine the outcome of the attempted action. There are two common types of test, basic and opposed, and you resolve each in a different way. I'm not generally in love with opposed rolls, but we'll see how they do it. This is the most common sort of test. In a basic test, you're rolling against a fixed target number. You tell them what they're trying to do, they determine the ability to be used and the applicable focus, if any, then assign a target number. You make a test, figure out the result, equal to or greater, so it's meet or beat. You have successfully passed the test and completed the action. Okay, so here's our difficulty chart. A character taking a basic test must roll versus a target number picked by the narrator. The narrator determines the target number based on an assessment of the test's difficulty. The narrator should take all relevant factors into account, including terrain, weather, equipment, assistance, and so on. The following table provides the benchmarks for basic test difficulty. Okay. I really like systems that have a really clean test setting, and this seems like it does. So I'm very happy to see that. Every rank of difficulty goes up by 2. So that is quite simple. Average is 11. So on a 3d6, you're rolling a minimum of 3. But what is the average of 3d6? I should just Google it. I know 2d6 averages to 7. Oh, wait, I can do this math. Never mind. I was thinking, sorry. This is actually really easy math. It is 10.5. 10.5 is the average unmodified roll result, and you will have the concentration of your results be near 10.5. So that's where you're getting your test difficulty of average at 11 for, and then going up and down from there. So we also see here that, because this teaches us about the game mechanics, routine difficulty is 7, which would be the average of rolling just 2d6. So more often than not, people are going to succeed that. Hard is a 15, which means you're trying to add 4.5 points to your test to do something hard on average. Nigh impossible, 21. So what the game is telling us right now is that you're going to find it almost impossible to get a bonus of 10. So that you could do a nigh impossible task on average, which of course you won't. So anyway, I like that it just increments by 2. And so you could say, well, I would say this is like 2 levels harder than average. So bam, 15. You just set it at 15 and you're good to go. Maybe you want to memorize average, hard, and extra hard. But I like systems where you can just kind of like intuitively know the DC setting system. So when somebody comes up with some wild idea, you could just consult this table in your mind and be like, yeah, it's a little harder than average, but not like super hard, so it's a 13. I like that. Making an opposed test. When your character is competing with another character directly, you must make an opposed test to see what happens. In this type of test, both characters get to roll and the results are compared. So the target number is determined by your opponent's test result, which is fine. Oh, here we go. So here's the tiebreaker. If there's a tie, whoever rolled higher on the drama die wins. If it's still a tie, whoever has the higher ability wins. So there's a tiebreaker system for that. So that's good. The same process can be used when more than 2 characters are competing. In such cases, everyone makes an ability test and all results are compared. Highest test result is the winner, with ties broken as in step 4. They might not be using the same ability. Fair enough. Some nice art there. Cool. Tests and time. Narrator determines how much time each test takes. Can be seconds to an hour. All right. That's fine. Degrees of success. Here we go. This is one of the uses of the drama die. Check your dice on the ability test and note the number on the drama die. If you are level 6 or higher, You can add the test's focus to the drama die if you have it. I don't know why that's necessary, but I'm interested by it. The higher the number, the more impressive your success. A 1 on your drama die means you barely pulled it off, while a 6 or better means you did it flawlessly. Okay, so here's your answer. If you're level 6 or higher, you are some level of competency, right? You're now in the 25th to 50th percentile of your total potential. You're in stage 2, we'll call it. And if you do something where you have the focus in it, what the game is telling you is you're never going to get a 1, because the lowest you can get then is a 3. Your test, when you add the focus, you're adding 2, so you're not really getting results from 1 to 6. You're getting results from 3 to 8. It's eliminating this failure clause from you, basically. Like, not failure, right? But like, oh, I just barely did it. Like, there's no slipping on the banana peel anymore, because you're competent and you're at level 6. So that's what it's doing. Yeah, it's also increasing your odds of a better success, but I think ultimately it's designed to eliminate the banana peel. Note that if you failed to test, the result of your drama die is irrelevant. Then your narrator will tell you when the result of your drama die is important. What? Why? Shouldn't it always be important? So all dice decide if you succeed in general, but the drama dice decides how well. Exactly. Yeah. It's an additional lever that's built into the roll itself. So you're still only doing one roll, but you're getting 2 degrees of information from the same single roll, which I think is actually quite nice. I think that's really nice. So let's see why would... I mean, I guess if it's like just a routine check, but like we should only be doing tests when... Whatever. I'll read this example, see if it clears it up. The spy, Selima, forced to flee the scene when discovered, wants to stash her gear in a stables while she hides in plain sight at a tavern. Guards will be searching for clues, so the narrator wants to know how good a job Selina did hiding her gear. Selima's player rolls a successful dexterity legerdemain test and gets a 5 on her drama die. This means the gear is very well hidden indeed. When guards search the stable, the narrator reflects that by adding 2 to the test's target number. Wait. I'm getting confused. With the added difficulty, none of the guards find anything, and Selima enjoys her drink in peace. Are you trying to tell me that the narrator is rolling for these guys to search? Nah. No, we will not be doing that. You already gave me a mechanism to determine how well something was done. Wouldn't you I would just extrapolate that from the drama die itself. I would set that like consequences in Forged in the Dark. You know, I'd say, here's your test, and so it will be hidden, but on like a drama die result 1 to 3, they will find it. It'll just take them some time. 4 to 6, they don't find it at all. I would negotiate those ahead of time. I think that would be a really fun way to use this system. I don't want NPC guard. I don't want to be rolling for NPC guards to find your stashed gear. No, thank you. No, thank you. For some tests, it matters how well you succeed in relationship to how difficult the test was in the first place. This is called the outcome of the test. Okay, outcome is simply the difference in value between the test result, the total of the numbers, and the target number. Successful test has an outcome of at least 0, yeah, and different amounts of outcome may influence the overall effect of a successful test. I mean, yeah, you could do that, but you could also just disclose that to the drama die as well. I guess if you want to reward, you want each point of ability or focus to matter more, then this would be how you do that. Because you don't have any control over the drama die. So that is random. And so I could understand how a player might feel like they have no control over that. So these are doing kind of different things. I could see it. I've talked myself into it. It's fine. Conviction. Whether it's luck, talent, a blessing from the gods, or sheer determination, heroes have something setting them apart from everyone else, allowing them to perform amazing deeds under the most difficult circumstances. In Blue Rose, that something is conviction. Spending a conviction point can make the difference between a success and failure. When you're entrusted with the safety of the kingdom, that means a lot. Are these our hero points? Kind of seems like they might be. And I kind of like this framing, conviction points, which is basically just like, you're like, I'm going to white knuckle this, and I am going to get the result I want here. I think that's a good way to reframe the hero point. Well, let's make sure I'm not completely off base. player characters have conviction based on their level, starting out with 3 points of conviction at level 1 and gaining an additional point every 2 levels thereafter. So they will end with some number I can't calculate right now. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. So that's 9 times 2. They'll end with 21. If I did that right. NPCs do not have or use it. Unless otherwise noted, spending a conviction point is a free action taking no time and can be done at any moment you require. You may only spend 1 conviction point per round for any given benefit, however. So, you can spend a point of conviction to dodge and another to recover, but you cannot recover twice or gain any benefit of conviction twice in the same round. You can spend conviction for any of the following effects. It is your hero point. Here we go. Reroll. Reroll any one roll of the dice you make, keeping the second result. This gives so many people heartburn. And it never bothered me. It just, I'm like, yeah, like it's not supposed to guarantee you that you do better. But that's the problem with naming mechanics. Pathfinder 2, they're called hero points, but you can roll worse and suddenly do worse. And people say, well, that didn't feel heroic. I think that's an issue with the name, not the mechanic. But some people say, I want it to be heroic, so I'm going to change the mechanic so that you can't roll worse, or we'll do d10 plus 10, which is effectively the same as saying roll a d20. If it's less than 10, add 10 to the result. Same difference. So here as well, it's saying keep the second result. This generally means re-rolling a failed test in the hope of success, although you can also re-roll damage rolls. Hey, that's different. You cannot spend a conviction point to reroll die rolls made by the narrator or other players, sure. So if we have saves in this game, you can't do that, including tests made in secret for your character. Use the second roll to determine if a test generates any stunt points. So this is kind of, you could fish for stunt points with this. You could fish for a better drama die result. And this is the full roll of the dice, so it is the full 3d6. It's not just one die. I wonder how much more powerful it would be to just allow for 1 die reroll. That might be fun to explore. Anyway, you can spend a conviction point to gain the benefit of a defend action, +2 to your defense for the round, without spending an action to do so. So you'll know when this will make the difference between being hit or not, and therefore that's why it's called dodge. So that's simple. Surge. Spending a conviction point can give you an additional major or minor action during the round. This gives me heartburn, but it's okay. Using this extra action does not change your place in the initiative order, implying that you can take extra actions by sacrificing your place in the initiative order later. That's the implication there. We'll find out. Recover. You can spend a conviction point to immediately regain 1d6 plus constitution plus level in health as a free action. Wow. Player-controlled self-healing. Now I wonder if that's been put in place because of a balancing concern, or if it's been put in place because this is not a gritty game where you're expected to die all the time, and they're just have some free recovery because we don't want you to die, and we're using some of these more trad-ish based systems that can be swingy potentially. I don't know how well balanced this is, but this might be a balm for that. At the narrator's discretion, you can likewise spend a conviction point to immediately shake off some debilitating or limiting effect, such as being temporarily blinded, stunned, or in pain. I like that. That's handy. And giving this mechanic to something everybody has access to, we'll see if they do this, but you get to the spell lists of the healer or whatever. And then they have treat poison, treat disease, treat this, treat that. And it's ugh, boring. Boring. 4E and Draw Steel have it. Yeah, good, cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think resource management and giving people the chance to heal themselves. Well, yeah, that's healing surges in 4E, right? But you only have a limited amount, and they don't regenerate until the next day, I think. I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. Probably. I hope they tell us. Man, but yeah, you're going to have 3, 5. You're going to have wait, I can't do math. You're going to have 7 points of conviction at level 5. So you should be using these a lot, which is cool. And in a way then too, it turns recovering into inventory ablatement. You don't have to have healing potions and God, I hate it. So I like this much better. These are kind of like inventory points in a way if you use them in that way. Survive. Spending a conviction point automatically stabilizes a dying character at 0 health. That character will not die unless an enemy deliberately takes a major action to deliver a killing blow. The stabilized character can recover health normally. Is there recovery? I don't know. Redemption. Conviction can also be used to counteract the accumulation of corruption points. Corruption points, huh? Oh boy. I guess we do have like that. Whatever region was the one with all the shadow creatures running around and the spawn. Anyway, welcome in, Kalana, by the way. Welcome in. Good to see you. Regaining conviction. Here we go. Here we go, Simon. Heroes regain expended conviction by doing something in accordance with their destiny or fate that furthers their goals. Ooh. Ooh. I like that. When this happens, the character regains a point of conviction up to their starting amount based on level. 1 point. That's slow regain. The narrator decides when an action is appropriate to gain the conviction point, although players can suggest appropriate moments in accordance with their characters' personas. Note that heroes can follow either their destiny or fate to regain conviction, and the narrator may occasionally use this to put temptation in a character's way. Someone with a greedy fate might have the opportunity to further their calling. That's also capitalized. We got stuff to learn. Yeah, I like goal-based rewards drives the player to do stuff and not just wait for plot. 100%. Through theft, for example, if the character steals to further their goal, they get a point of conviction, but also have to deal with the consequences of their action. I'm interested to see that there is a greedy fate here. Anyway, the narrator can also award characters conviction for a particularly impressive success or achievement in the adventure that renews their confidence and faith. Okay. Overcoming a difficult challenge or solving a complex puzzle might give the heroes a burst of inspiration in the form of renewed conviction. The same may be true for the guidance, advice, or comfort offered by important NPCs, such as an encounter with a unicorn that fills the characters' hearts with hope. The narrator chooses when to do this, but it should only happen once or twice in an adventure and may not occur at all in some adventures. And I think the framing they used for adventure that we saw earlier on was the adventure is like the session, the particular set of encounters. So you can have that happen across the series. Timekeeping. It is the narrator's job to track time in the game, narrative time, and action time. What? For much of play, time tracking will be rough. It isn't important to track things to the minute in most circumstances. If you tell the narrator you want to climb a ridge, okay, long distance travel. Loose time tracking is narrative time. A typical game will have sections of narrative time interspersed with action time. Okay. Oh, that's what they mean by, okay, roll for initiative. That's the sign the game is switching into action time. Okay, action time is tightly defined. Whoa. Narrator tracks time in 15-second increments called rounds. 15 seconds? You can do a lot in 15 seconds. Everybody gets a chance to act. Okay. Initiative roll, fine. Highest to lowest, yeah. If there's a tie, whoever rolled higher on the drama die wins. If it's still a tie, whoever has the higher ability wins. That's a nice tiebreaker. It might be easier to just say ties go to the enemies, and just decide ahead of time. But this does reward, I guess, if you have a higher ability, even though the drama die comes first, which is the random one. So, oh well. So I guess the NPCs then are rolling the same test dice because they have to have a drama die to compare with. Okay, the character at the top of the initiative list takes a turn. Yeah, 1 major action, 1 minor action, or 2 minor actions. Okay. It doesn't look like we're going into crazy bonus actions, side actions, triple threat actions, so that's okay. I can handle this. Next character takes a turn. Very straightforward. Common. When it's your turn in a round, you tell the narrator what you want to do. On your turn, you can take a major and a minor, or 2 minors. Take them in any order. You can take fewer actions if you'd like. You can talk while taking actions, but no more than 15 seconds worth. Yes, okay. Oh, A list of the most common major and minor actions follows. You are not limited to these actions. If you want to do something else, just say so, and the narrator will adjudicate it. Freeform. The narrator may require you to roll an ability test depending on what you are trying to do. Fair enough. There are 2 additional actions of importance. Concentrate and reload. Concentrate is used to wield the power of Arcana, and reload is used with missile weapons. Depending on the Arcanum weapon and related talents, concentrate and reload can be major actions, minor actions, or free actions. Oh no, here we go. There's your free actions. Some actions take a negligible amount of time. They are known as free actions, and they don't count towards your usual limitation on actions. The rules note when something is a free action. Okay. Here's what we can do. Here's the most common majors. Aid an ally. Oh, hold the phone. Your ally must be within a number of yards equal to your communication times 4. Okay. The ally gains a bonus minor action and a +2 bonus on the next test of their choice for 1 round after your turn. Bonded characters can always aid each other if in the same scene, regardless of distance. That's a neat bonus, because they're psychic animals. I kind of like this. Okay, so aid actually gives bonus actions. That's nice. Not just a numerical addition. You can't do that in Pathfinder because one action is too powerful, and since everything's compressed down to the actions, you can't use an aid to give somebody else an action. That would be done, to devastating effect. But since you have minors, I guess that's the benefit. All-out attack. You attack one adjacent enemy in hand-to-hand combat. This is your full attack, right? Oh, wait. If you hit, you do +1 damage, but you get -1 defense until your next turn. Man, damage must be... health and damage must be really low in this system, because this does not scale. So as you get more powerful, this is less swingy for you. Interesting. Charge, move up to half your speed and make an attack. +1 on your attack roll. It does not say that it has to be linear, so you can turn and stuff. Defend. You get +2 to your defense. If you wish, you may give this defense bonus to an adjacent ally within 2 yards instead. Everybody can do this. That's cool. That would be class design in another game, but this game only has 3 classes. So it doesn't have to save that for the guardian, champion, whatever type character. Just everybody can do this. Heal. You provide quick first aid to an injured ally. Must be adjacent. Must have bandages. TN intelligence healing. So if you have a healing focus, your average die result is 12.5. So decent odds. That's not even counting your intelligence bonus. If you are successful, ally gets back health equal to drama die plus your intelligence. Huh. Okay. So now you're rolling a success, and you're also getting the healing value from the same roll. This is kind of neat. This is kind of quick. Character cannot benefit from another heal action until additional damage is taken. Oh, that's a neat way to do that. Yeah, because I've seen systems that have been you could track every single individual wound. And if I got a cut on my arm and a cut on my side, a heal action could only address one of those separately. And you can't over-heal something better than the time you tried to heal it the first time. This is a way of saying, you're going to heal them, but you can't just, spam heals. They have to get hit with a different instance of damage, which means your damage is going to be trending down, and you can only heal up so much. And so the pressure is always going to be pushing the HP down. Probably there is some healing magic that can do this better. Melee attack. Enemy within 2 yards is considered adjacent. So why? Okay, all-out attack is really just trading damage for defense, as opposed to a normal melee. Ranged attack. You make a ranged attack. Got it. Run. You move up to double your speed. Cannot take this if you're prone. Of course, you have to stand up first. Okay. Minor actions activate. So you're going to interact with something. Aim. If your next action is a melee attack or ranged attack, you get +1 on your attack roll. So you could aim and then all-out attack, and then you're doing +1 to attack, +1 damage, -1 defense. But that's your whole turn. Guard up. Add +1 or +2 to your defense until the end of this round. You suffer the amount you choose as a penalty to all tests you make, even a post-test, for the remainder of the current round as well. That's kind of fiddly. If you choose this one, you have to do it before any major action. You can combine it with defend, but the penalty applies to all tests made for the rest of the round. All right, I guess. Maintain. So it's sustain, basically. Move. You can go up to your speed, stand up, lay down, mount a horse or a vehicle. If you do so, you can only move at half speed. Oh. Oh, okay, I get it. If you do any of these things, you still get half of your movement speed, plus mounting a horse, plus mounting a vehicle, plus standing up, plus going prone. So that's a neat way to do that. Prepare, you pick one major action that you prepare to execute and then end your turn. Anytime until your next turn, you can interrupt another character and take your prepared action immediately. If you don't use it by your next turn, the action is lost. You cannot take the prepared action if you've already taken a major action on your turn. Okay, so you delay it. And press the attack. You stand ready to pursue an enemy if they should fall back or flee your blows. Declare an adjacent enemy combatant when you take this action. Until the beginning of your next turn, if that enemy moves away from you, you may immediately move up to your speed in yards in direct pursuit at no additional cost in actions. Applies immediately after their movement before they can do anything else. That's really nice. That's really good. You can only use it on an enemy you have already successfully struck in melee this turn, whether you dealt damage or not. When you make your move, it does not need to bring you adjacent to that enemy if you can't go that fast. In this case, you simply move as far as you can before stopping. All right. You can forgo some or all of it if you wish, if they're like running you through a trap. Huh. It's not bad. Ready? You can unsheath the weapon. What? How is ready different than activate? They probably could have combined those. That's fine. Stand firm, you lower your weight and prepare to resist any and all efforts to move you. So it's defense against skirmish or knock-prone stunts. And they have to do a opposed test. This test can only be attempted after your opponent spends the relevant stunt points, which are nevertheless expended to no effect if you win the test. An opponent who attempts to skirmish only makes a single opposed test. Okay. So the enemies must have their own stunt points, and I don't think I clocked that earlier on, but that's the only thing that makes sense. Variable actions. Concentrate. Could be major, minor, or free, depending on Arcanum, and reload can be different depending on the weapon. All right. It is 11 o'clock. We are not quite at a good stopping point. I wonder how far along we are. So let me just check here. We got 9 pages to go before we wrap up chapter 1, and we'll probably call it there. And then, if people are interested in taking a deeper look at this, we might do another stream on Blue Rose. But in the meantime, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll do the next 9 pages, which hopefully won't take us an hour, and we'll wrap it up there. But anyway, in the meantime, chat amongst yourselves. If you have questions you want me to consider or answer when I'm coming back, drop them in the chat, and we'll check on them then. While you're doing all that stuff, do the, like the stream. Like, comment, and subscribe. All the things. Why not? I'll be back in a second. See ya. Okay, we're back. Always time it out to the song if I can. Let's switch back over here. Oh, and the new song is playing. That's fine. We'll let the song play. We like the song. Okay, we're in combat encounters. Get rid of the bookmarks. Sometimes words are not enough. Sometimes conflict can only be settled through combat. Novices seek out this in honor or glory. Veterans know that any fight you walk away from is a good one. Okay. Got it. Making attacks, you pick a target. Adjacent means 2 yards. I wonder if the grid is... Yeah, it must be 2 yards is 1 square on the grid, which is your 6 feet instead of 5. I don't know why they did that, but whatever. To make a missile attack, you must be able to see them and be within range. Make a roll. Ability test based on the weapons group for the weapon you're using. Fighting. Okay, we need to look at the character sheet. Fighting for heavy blades or accuracy for bows. This is modified by a focus, which would be the weapon focus probably if you have it. And any other relevant bonuses such as aiming, charging, arcane items, talents, etc. So aiming was our minor action, charging was a major action, and then other stuff. Your attack roll is a basic ability test. Attack target number is your opponent's defense. If your test result is equal to or greater than the defense you have hit. Good. We want to hit. Inflicting damage. Once you've hit an opponent, you then inflict damage. Your damage roll determines if you struck a telling blow or one that was glancing and ineffectual. Armor is important here as it protects the wearer from a certain amount of damage. Okay. Roll damage, add strength. It doesn't specify strength only for melee or propulsed weapons, so we're not getting that nitty-gritty. Damage for each weapon is in the weapons section. Here we go. For certain weapons such as bows, you add perception instead of strength to the weapon's damage. Cool. Subtract armor, unless it's penetrating damage, in which case skip this step. Neat. And that's your total. So it's damage plus strength or perception minus armor. Why didn't I get a little formula here? That would have been nice. Okay. Simple enough. As characters lose health, they get closer to death. Player characters whose health reaches 0 are dying. They will die after a number of rounds equal to 2, plus their constitution, unless they receive healing. Dying characters can talk, but can't take any other actions. Oh, so they're still conscious. Huh. They die at the start of the turn on their final round, so allies have until then to save them. Most NPCs simply die when their health reaches 0. Narrators may choose to apply PC dying rules. Health never goes below 0. There is no negative health, so you can't overkill something. Or be overkilled, rather. So that's fine. Incapacitating. When a blow is struck that would otherwise slay a target, the attacker can choose to incapacitate instead. This leaves the target unconscious with 1 health. Incapacitated character regains consciousness in 2d6 minutes, unless circumstances dictate otherwise. Well, a round is 15 seconds, so you're going to have at minimum 2 minutes here, which is 8 rounds for something to wake up, so that's not bad. You're not going to have any feel bad, they woke back up in the middle of the fight and here we go again. Delivering a coup de grace. A dying or unconscious character can be killed by a coup de grace. Any adjacent enemy can perform it as a major action. It automatically kills the target. This is really going to be players, mostly, because, well, no, I guess if the GM wants the NPC to use the dying rules, then you could still do this. Ranged attack can be used with an attack roll versus defense 10. Okay, I guess because you could miss easier. Whatever. And we're almost to stunts. Okay. Here we go, combat stunts. Before we do stunts, though, I want to go to the character sheet, because there are things here that I'm feeling like I'm going to want to know as we continue to read. So let's see. Okay. I don't know what this initiative card is about. Quick reference card. Oh, are these little printable, huh. These are little printable aids that you're supposed to cut out or something? I don't know. All right, so here we go. We have our 9 abilities. Accuracy, communication, constitution, dexterity, fighting, intelligence, perception, strength, and willpower. So what are the odd ones out here? So we have con, dex, and strength, intelligence, will, perception is its own ability, fighting is its own ability, accuracy, and communication. So yeah, it is this kind of like interesting blend of abilities and skills from other systems. Armor type, speed, defense, penalty. I don't know what penalty it means here. That's probably, is that an armor penalty? I guess we'll find out. Fatigue, health, conviction points. It's interesting that this is just an open box. They're just like, just write your stuff in here. Movement, charge movement, run movement, so you can just refer to it easily. Weapon groups and notes. This is like pretty straightforward, simple. Kind of vibing with it. I like how small the gearbox is. Then you have character information, like their personalities and stuff. Relationships and bonds. Honorifics, titles, and memberships. This is cool. This is cool. We still don't know if this is going to give us any mechanical benefit, but the idea of just like chasing after these things is neat. Illustration and notes. This is really quite simple. And I kind of like it for that. For that. All right. Go back up to here. And go back down to here. That's a really good observation, actually. And I'm all about it. There's more space for titles than there are for gear. Yep. I'm on board. Okay, combat stunts. Combat is more than just two warriors taking turns whacking each other with swords. A good fight should be dynamic and feature a lot of movement and action. The rules described so far create a good framework, but the game adds stunts to mix things up and make fighting a little more unpredictable. Okay, the combat stunt system is simple. If you make a successful attack roll and get doubles on any of the dice, you can perform one or more stunts in addition to dealing your normal damage. You receive a number of stunt points equal to the value shown on the drama die and must use them right away to perform stunts. Oh. Initially, all characters choose from the same list of stunts, but as characters gain levels, they may gain access to new stunts or get to use standard ones for fewer stunt points. These details can be found in each class description. Fun. Okay, so I didn't realize you get doubles to basically trigger that you are going to get stunt points and the chance to use them immediately. And then you can spend them based on the drama die results. So this is completely random. Everything about this is random, minus the fact that it says you're going to have some ways to interface with them in character creation. So let's see. Skirmish. You can move yourself or the target of your attack 2 yards in any direction for each one stunt point you spend. That's nice. So you can reposition. That's cool. Rapid reload, immediately reload. Stay aware. You take a moment to make sure you're mindful of everything. Perception. Narrator will give you information about battlefield situation that has so far escaped your notice, or give you a +1 bonus to the next test you make. Can never stack with any other test bonus other than that from a focus. Must be on the very next test. Okay. Knock prone. It's also nice that they added the rules here about what prone means, because it's simple enough that you might as well just put it right here in the line itself. There's probably somewhere later on where it has the condition of prone and all of the rules about it, but like everything you need to know about knocking something prone and why you would do so is right here. So that's nice. Yeah. Because, well, I mean, it's a minor action to move, and they can still stand and move half their speed. So it's not super punishing with movement, but this does penalize them from getting away from you. And what was it a minor action to keep pace with the enemy? Because like you could knock them prone, and then you could use your minor action to say that you're going to follow them, so that if they stand up and try to get away, they're moving at half speed. You're almost guaranteed to keep up with them. That'd be nice. Defensive stance. You gain +2 bonus to defense until the beginning of your next turn. Disarm. Make an opposed attack roll. If you win, knock your enemy's weapon 1d6 plus strength yards away in a direction you nominate. That's funny. Mighty blow, extra 1d6. Pierce armor, Target's armor rating is halved versus this attack, which is not the same as penetrating damage, which ignores armor completely. So that's a little confusing. Taunt. You make an opposed test. If you win, they get a -1 penalty on attack and Arcana rolls on their next turn to everybody. That's nice. That's not your like tactical taunt that forces them to attack you. That's just a debuff. Threaten. Opposed test. They must attack you in some way on their next turn. Nice. Nice. And the other thing I was saying before is like these are abilities that you would normally see in class design. But this game is saying you can do all this stuff. And maybe you do or don't want to threaten somebody based on what your character build is, but you can do it. And there's no penalty. Like, there's no penalty if you're the adept to using this. It's not like if you're an adept, you know, you get a -2 to your check. Obviously, you're going to try and do this if you have strength and intimidation built in. But I like this flexibility. Lightning attack. You can make a second attack against the same enemy or a different one within range and sight. If you roll doubles on the second attack roll, you do not gain additional stun points. So this is to keep you from trying to chain stuns, which is fine. Setup, you create an opening, an ally can exploit. They get a +2 bonus on the ability test of their choice. So that's a nice aid system as well. Like you're not rolling to see if you can aid. That's really nice. Does it? Interesting. I've never really closely read Mithras. The closest I've come is looking at M-Space, which is the sci-fi hack of Mithras Imperative that I like for a number of reasons. But I even haven't looked as closely at that system as I would like. But hopefully we'll stream on that someday too. Dual Strike. It affects 2 targets. So this is like cleave. Okay. Test result of your original attack roll to the secondary target. So if you know that you had a good attack roll, then you could invoke this. Even if you don't know what their AC is. Do they have AC? No, they have a defense score, not an AC. Seize the initiative. You move to the top of the initiative order. This means you may get to take another turn before some of the combatants get to act again. That's cool. You remain at the top of the order until someone else seizes the initiative. Huh. I've never seen that in an RPG before. Lethal blow, extra 2d6 damage on your attack. I would add a rider to this that I would say like you can't incapacitate with it. And maybe even on Mighty Blow. But I don't know. I guess that's just me being anti-player. Alright, you can only perform a given stunt once in a round. The only exception to this rule is the skirmish stunt, which can be used multiple times as long as you have enough stunt points. Once you have decided on what stunts you want to use, you can narrate how your character pulled them off. You can perform the stunts in any order you choose. Mounts and combat. I don't know that I want to read about mounts right now. You get a benefit if you're mounted and they're not. Yeah. They can use knock prone to try and dismount you. So you get a chance to resist it. Yeah, because knock prone doesn't have a test. But it does if they're trying to use it to dismount. Okay, fine. Flying combatants. Certain ride-in are capable of flight. Okay, so they have a different speed when flying usually. When flying, a character must use one of the following actions each turn. Circle, dive, fly, or fly high. Oh, man. They have their own action list for flying. And if they don't do one of those, they fall. Only one can be used on a turn. Can't dive and circle. Wow, this is kind of complicated. I'm surprised. Okay. Yes, we will do that. We can do that. Major actions. Dive. A character that was circling can move a number of yards equal to the flying speed. And make a melee attack. Okay. A character who was flying high. This is interesting. This is like this whole like flowchart of flying systems. But I kind of don't mind because they didn't give us a grappling system. So this is fine. Basically, if things are going to be flying, you need to know this stuff. I don't necessarily want to read it. Okay. Using battle maps. We know how to use battle maps. Okay. 2 yards is 1 square. We figured that out already. Round down if needed. Speed is done in yards then. Okay. Short bow with a range of 32 yards can shoot 16 squares. I do wonder why they did this, and there's probably some elegant reason. But I don't see it yet. 3D miniatures, yada, 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 yada. We get it. Okay. And, there's major and minors. Huh. This is funny, because this is like the actual Pokemon move, fly. They basically just like zip up out of the map. They're like, I'm gone. Can't hit me. Can't attack me. Okay. Well, that kind of makes flying seem fun and less just about like you're moving through the air. Like you actually have to do actions that have different effects. So that's kind of cool. Normal fly. Character is roughly 3 yards off of the ground and can be attacked in melee by opponents on the ground. Huh. Cool. I mean, that's actually kind of a way to like make flying not OP, is to like restrict what they can do, how far off the ground they can be, etc., so that they can still be attacked. So that's kind of nice to see. All right, non-combat encounters. There is far more to storytelling in Blue Rose than just combats, of course. Heroes spend a great deal of time traveling and visiting potentially dangerous locales, exploring the wilderness or the ruins of an old kingdom city, for example, or slipping through the high passes of the Icebinder Mountains or across the Viren Marsh. These sorts of experiences are exploration encounters where the challenges often come from the environment and the character's ability to discern what is around them, rather than a direct threat from any particular creature or foe. The goal of an exploration encounter may be to find something or someone to get from place to place, or even to simply survive the hazards of the wilderness. See Handling Hazards in Chapter 10 for game system details on this. Characters likewise encounter and interact with a great variety of people, from the ordinary citizens of their homeland to peers or rivals, potential enemies, or family and loved ones. These interactions form the basis for role-playing encounters, where the focus is on the players role-playing their characters, interacting with each other, and any supporting characters run by the narrator. Here, the challenges often involve finding agreement or settling disputes, or pursuing personal agendas or goals involving other people. This can range from convincing a bandit lord to release hostages unharmed, to mediating a dispute between hostile factions, or wooing a potential romantic interest at a grand masquerade. Exploration stunts. Just as with combat encounters, characters can perform stunts related to exploration and role-playing encounters. The basic system for generating and using stunt points for exploration and role-playing stunts is the same as it is for combat stunts. Yes, 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 drama die. We get it. Only once per... Same stunt once with the stunt points from a single test, yeah. Here we have the tables. We'll look at those in a second. Role-playing stunts must be delivered along with a description of the interaction you're engaged in, and must be consistent with the description you give. You can't have your character deliver a scathing dressing down via a strength intimidation test and then say that it turns out to be funny using the jest role-playing stunt. Or at the very least, you'd have to propose a really clever justification for why that would be the case. No, don't do this. Because this favors the super clever, sneaky player who's always going to come up with their justification, and you're going to get engaged and debate with them all the time, and they're going to do that throughout the entire campaign. So try and hold that line, I would say. Narrators should be aware that in general, exploration and role-playing stunts call for more on-the-fly decision-making than combat stunts. This is because of the simple fact that outside combat, there are fewer hard and fast rules and statistics to govern what characters can do, how they might feel, or react to provocations, where they're standing, and so on. Okay. To avoid bogging the game down with the need for narrators to make lots of minor on-the-fly decisions about non-combat stunts, they can always decide that any particular non-combat test can't generate stunt points for any reason or no reason at all. I love that. They could also rule that stunt points generated from a particular combat test can't be spent on exploration stunts or role-playing stunts. Oh, did I miss something? You can use these in combat? Cool. They can even make either of those decisions after a test has been made. Although a good narrator will only very rarely take away stunt points that have already been rolled, it's usually better to let the players have their fun. Finally, Narrators should be clear that the effects of exploration stunts especially do not call for them to invent new elements that weren't there before to add to the situation at hand. For example, if there isn't already something present in the encounter for a character who chooses the "that makes me wonder" stunt to learn, the narrator isn't obligated to make something up just to satisfy the effects of the stunt. That's nice. That seems to contradict their don't rule of law argue. Yeah, oh well. Oh, there's arcane stunts too. Wow. Okay, let's go back and take a look at some of these. So, exploration stunts. Advantageous positioning. Okay, so this could keep you from having a trap blow up in your face. Efficient search. Use half as many resources as you would otherwise use. Speedy search, half the time. The right tools you have, find or improvise a piece of equipment you need. This is kind of, I'm going to use the wrong terms. This is kind of OSR-ish stuff, these exploration stunts. It's about just like interacting with the fiction of the world in front of you, and you can be super clever and whatever. That makes me wonder. You may immediately make another perception test at no additional cost and time to discover more information about your surroundings or the object of your test. That's kind of cool. You just double down. Object of your attention, you get a +1 bonus to further test to examine or perceive additional aspects of the object of your test until the time or venue changes. I don't know that I like that, because this is encouraging you to just like keep rolling similar things. I guess it says additional aspects, so you should be using different skill tests to try and figure something out. The upper hand, if your discoveries lead to combat within a moment or two, you receive a +3 bonus on your initiative roll. Interesting. Resources at hand. Choose a focus you don't have, and you're considered to have it until the time or venue changes. Nice. Has to be a reasonable suggestion. That's really handy. Oops, I just like struck through. I did not mean to. Oops. With a flourish, the manner of your success is impressive to those who are nearby to watch you. You have a +1 bonus to oppose tests against them until the time or venue changes. Nice. All right. So those are exploration stunts. Now these are role-playing stunts, and as we said before, that's just the word that they used. You could call this like scene stunts, scene work stunts. Bon mot, you tag the perfect witty remark onto the end of your action. The team can like think of it together, so that's fun. Word of your wit is likely to spread for good or ill. That's so funny. That's just like it becomes a narrative truth. Like, this is a clever character. Passionate inspiration, your emotions flare and you're inspired to a brief act of daring or greatness. +1 bonus to next action. Further +1 for every additional 2 SP spent. So you can spend up to 5 for a bonus of 3. And another thing, you managed to weave a second thrust of conversation into the primary interaction that called for the test, if your description supports it. You can do an additional test. I would think that would also specify that you can't get stunt points from the second test, even though it just did tell the GM or the narrator that they can always just say no. But I would have specified that too. Sway the crowd. You affect one additional person of your choice past the original target. You can use this multiple times on the same roll. Okay, some complications there. New friends. Make people think better of you. New enemies. You get the upper hand but draw their ire. Stunned silence. You're so impressive that you leave all those who witness your display completely dumbfounded and unable to speak for at least a full round. That's so funny. Outside combat. This lasts at the very least long enough for your character to begin to do something else, like walk away. Jest. You turn a phrase, twist your expression, or make some other comedic motion that leads those nearby to laugh, or at least stifle their snorts. They have to roll to avoid laughing. Oh man, that's funny. Exciting opportunities. Your action impresses or inspires an NPC or some dignitary who could hear about your actions. There may not be an immediate effect, but could lead to future patronage, membership, or invitation to a restricted event. That's cool. Flirt. Here you go. Yeah. Let's read it. Choose one character who is present and immediately make an opposed communication romance versus willpower self-discipline test. If you win, the character becomes enamored with yours. What exactly this means in the moment and how it might play out or fall apart in the long run are up to the narrator and depend on how you continue to act. But if you're successful, you've created an opening for romantic possibilities. There is an entire section in the GM section that talks about role-playing romance. So I expect it goes into extreme detail about consent and like placing effects on other people's characters and making sure everybody's on board and frequent check-ins and all of that stuff. But this, as far as like a PC to an NPC, perhaps there's specific guidance for that. But yeah, it definitely has a little bit of that like strings or hearts move vibe to it, which is funny because like this is the thing. This is a romantic fantasy game, and this is like what the first instance of any rules text that we've had to do anything with romantic relationships at all. Because it is more in that romantic fantasy romanticism of the setting and the themes than it is about romantic relationships between characters. There are character bonds and things like that we're not going to get to today. But yeah. Tower of Will. Your success gives you a sense of your own brilliance and strength of character. You get +1 to opposed test when they try to emotionally manipulate you. That's nice. And Enrage. You twist the knife. The single target you designate must choose between either attacking you or storming away from the scene. That's insane. That's awesome. If they choose to attack, the assault need not be deadly, although the option is open to the enraged character. A slap or the throwing of the gauntlet may stand in as an attack just as well. That's so funny. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, well, it is and it's not. And that's the thing, is that this is a romantic fantasy role-playing game, is like the tagline for it. But it is not like romance. It's the romantic literary genre and trope. And so in the first part of the stream we talked about the setting and how it frames itself as a more hopeful type of thing, and it goes into briefly like the history of writers that came out of the 1980s that advanced this genre, which unfortunately I was wholly unfamiliar with. But yeah, so it's not a romance simulator game by any stretch, that from what I've seen. It's really quite a bit more traditional, 3rd edition D&D era of game, but it's actually really kind of stripped down, and I'm impressed with how little crunch there is, but maybe that crunch is going to come and hit us in the face when we get into actual character creation. I don't know. I'm probably not going to read through the arcane stunts, because without the context of the arcana, it's not going to really matter. Characters using arcana can generate stunt points on any required test and may spend those stunt points on arcane stunts. Yeah. Okay. These are similar to other types of stunts, but apply to the uses and effects of arcana. The arcane stunts described here are available to any character or creature able to wield arcana. Adepts gain certain class powers modifying their arcane stunts, usually allowing them to perform them at a reduced cost. As with other stunts, specific exceptions are noted in situations where they apply. Not every arcane stunt is appropriate for every arcanum or use. For example, if an arcanum does not inflict damage, then it cannot benefit from a mighty arcana stunt. That makes sense. We'll just read the titles: Powerful Channeling, Skillful Channeling, Mighty Arcana, Lasting Arcana. These are like your meta magics, kind of. Arcane Shield, Fast Casting, Imposing Arcana, Split Arcana, Disrupt Arcana, Lethal Arcana. Yeah. Effortless Arcana. So there's this thing called a fatigue test. So using magic is got to have this subsystem somewhere of like fatigue, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to bypass it. Okay, which stunts can I use? As a general rule, and always subject to the narrator's judgment, you can use stunt points from any test to generate any kind of stunt. Although you will most frequently want to use exploration stunts when doing investigation and role-playing stunts when interacting with other characters, because those stunts make the most sense and are the most useful, you're not restricted in that way. You can use stunt points from any test to generate any kind of stunt. You can even use exploration and role-playing stunts during combat, or use combat stunts outside Afrakas. I'm not familiar with that phrase. I should be. That's okay. After all, if a fight breaks out during a role-playing encounter, you'll want to use combat stunts right away. If you're in the middle of an exploration encounter and manage to find a hidden character, a role-playing stunt might be just the thing to cajole them out of their hiding place. Similarly, Since you might use Arcana in any type of encounter, you can perform arcane stunts in any encounter. If the rule worked any other way, it would be very important for the narrator to demarcate the beginnings and ends of scenes with a precision that would gum up the whole flow of the adventure. That's well said. They're basically saying, like, use your common sense and judgment. Use things when they make sense. We're not gonna, drill down on when things start or begin, because it's not that kind of game. Yes, 100%. I want to flirt with the ogre. There's nothing stopping you. How does it, big boy? I don't know if that's supposed to be an ogre or a giant or whatever. I'm sure this is all tied into the setting. Cool art, though. Cool art. Stunt notes and test restrictions. You only roll a test when the narrator calls for one. With the potential for great success in some of the new stunts. What does this mean, the new stunts? It will sometimes be tempting to roll for anything and everything in the hope of generating stunt points to provide broader than normal effects, etc. In cases where you're clearly fishing for stunt points, the narrator is well within their rights to disallow a test and simply say that you've succeeded at your task. Yeah. There's a little bit of a disconnect there, because somebody might be like, well, if I could just succeed it, then shouldn't I automatically get stunt points? It's like, you know what? Just stop. Some stunt descriptions mention an object of your test. This refers broadly to an item or person being searched for, etc. If an opposed test is being made, the object is always the other party to the test. It will almost always be obvious, but if it's not, the narrator is the final arbiter. Okay, here's this phrase. Until the time or venue changes, this means the effect keeps going until the focus of play jumps forward in time by any significant amount. This is all very loose language. Or the focus of play changes to some other place. The phrase is meant to approximate to the duration of a single encounter, but be a little clearer to players, since the narrator is usually the one who worries about when encounters begin and end. However, note that when the narrator is jumping back and forth between two different groups of heroes who are doing different things in different places in order to create drama and excitement, the change of the game's table's focus doesn't count as a change of time or venue. It's just a clever technique. All stunts are available to NPCs too. Turnabout is fair play after all. This can be awkward, however, when role-playing stunts seem to take away the player's freedom to choose how their characters behave. The narrator should be circumspect in such cases, while players should also embrace the idea that good fun can arise from the adversity of their heroes being psychologically and emotionally affected by the characters they interact with, even in ways they wouldn't necessarily choose themselves. Basically, check in frequently with your players and your narrator and make sure everybody's on board. That's what you got to do. As always, the narrator is the final arbiter of how things play out in whatever situations arise. Stunts are cool, but my brain recoils at the idea of having to remember all of them. I feel like it is something you would get good at coming up with on the fly when you play a lot, though. You know, I think that there's... You'd know the ones that are good for you based off of what your abilities and your focuses are, right? So you're going to spec into those in the same way that if you're playing Pathfinder and you know that you have a good intimidation, so you're going to probably use demoralize fairly often. So you're going to know the rules for demoralize. They need to be within 30 feet. It's a target. It's a intimidation check versus their will DC. So you're going to know that because it's relevant to you. Furthermore, you could just refer to the tables. And I think you would learn them because the list of moves and things you can do was not terribly long. Your character sheet doesn't have a million skills. And you could even probably just make notes on the character sheet in the notes section of like, these are the stunts that I'm probably going to want to be thinking of most often. So I don't know. I don't think it would be too bad. My issue is more keeping track of all the bonuses you generate on future rolls. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You just make a quick note. Like, wherever you're tracking your health, make a quick note. Like, hey, I've got +1 to my next test. Because it falls off after the end of the round anyway. But not insignificant concerns. Here we go. Health and healing. Reduced to 0 health is dying. We know that. Unless healing is received in 2+ con rounds, they die. Health is fairly abstract by design, as is the nature of the damage received. When a character takes damage from a sword hit, for example, it can represent bruising, loss of breath, or actual wounds. It would be tedious to track each cut or broken bone, so the rules sacrifice realism for the sake of playability. The exact nature of the damage isn't important. You just need to watch your hero's health and be careful when it gets close to 0. When your character is wounded, there are several ways to heal. They can aid you with a heal action. Take a breather after a combat encounter, 5-minute rest, and you get back 5 plus con plus level. You can only take 1 breather after an encounter. If you were at 0 health when the combat encounter ended, you cannot take a breather at all. All right, you can get some sleep. If you can get at least 6 hours of sleep, you get 10 plus con plus level. Or arcane healing. Cure Arcanum. Cool. Fatigue and resting. Characters in Blue Rose can suffer from fatigue as well as damage to their health. Fatigue usually results from strenuous tasks requiring great effort, such as a forced march, exertion in difficult environments, and wielding arcana. Such conditions usually call for a test to avoid or stave off fatigue. If the test fails, the character acquires 1 or even more levels of fatigue. The 4 levels of fatigue are as follows. Yeah, wielding arcana for sure. Level 1 winded, -1 to all tests, cannot run or charge. Level 2 fatigued, -2 to all tests, cannot run or charge, and moves at half speed. Level 3 exhausted, -3 to all, half speed, cannot run, cannot charge. If they lose more than half their health, they become unconscious for 1d6 hours. Oh geez. Or until restored to greater than half their max health. After regaining consciousness, they regain 10 plus con plus level in health. That's a little clunky, but I guess it's to keep it from being an unconscious spiral. Oh, but okay, but that's because they've been unconscious for 1d6 hours. However, 6 hours of restful sleep gets 10 plus con plus level. Passing out, 10 plus con plus level, even if it's only 1 hour. Interesting. Level 4 dying, the character's health drops to 0, and the character begins dying. Oh, so you can get to dying through exhaustion, too. Through fatigue, I mean. If restored to at least 1 health, the character becomes unconscious but stable, regaining consciousness in 1d6 hours at level 3 fatigue. Wild. The main way the characters can recover from fatigue is by resting. Brief, extended, and full periods of rest restore fatigue as follows. 5-minute breather. Recovers from winded. Resting at least 4 hours, recovers from fatigued. Sleeping for 6 hours, recovers from exhausted. In addition to the health benefits of such rest. So I would have thought that it would have stepped it down in levels. But actually, if you're at level 3, you can just clear the whole thing. Yeah. I was thinking of the stunts as a GM because I almost only GM. I guess you'd want to jot down like 2 to 3 stunts, an NPC would want to use it in a scene as prep. Yeah, that's a fair point. But I do think, I mean, it's like there's so many that you require, because this is a random die roll. It's a 1d6 random die roll, so you have equal chance of only being able to do this one thing as you do being able to do any of them. But if you get a low die roll, you're only considering these. So I don't know. I think it's probably something you would just get used to. I would hope. And there we have it. We got to character creation. The only thing I want to see about character creation is, today anyway, is the abilities real quick. Oh, wow. Randomly generated. You determine your abilities randomly by rolling dice, giving each one a numeric rating ranging from -2 to 4. Wild. So all that stuff about constitution and like when you die, you can have a negative constitution. 1 is average. The higher the ability, the better. Okay, but how are we... Tell me how to do it. Oh, here we go. And then option 2, buying abilities. So you do... It is a 3d6 table. It's just parsed out slightly differently. So you're not likely to end up with a -2. That's very unlikely. You're going to end up on average here in the 1 range. But yeah, it's been a while since I've played a game with random stat generation, so that could be fun. Anyway, that's pretty straightforward. Option 2, buying abilities. Oh, wait. Random elements make the process easier and faster because they cut down on decision making. That's true. If you have some experience with role-playing games or just want more control, you can use one of the following 2 options for determining with the narrator's consent. Yeah, I'm interested too, because I just briefly looked at it and it's like, this whole game system fits on 17 pages. And you're like, oh, cool. I'm interested. I'm actually genuinely very interested to see what that looks like. Option 1, arranging abilities. So you roll them all, but then you choose where they go. Or option 2, buying them. Everything starts at 0. You get 12 advancements. Each advancement raises an ability by 1, but none can be greater than 3. You must spend all 12. You cannot do dump stat stuff. Characters using this option have no abilities below 0, the default starting value. Yeah, because those are so rare to get anyway. I mean, this would be 3 1s. This would be 2 1s and a 2. This would be 2 2s and a 1. Or 2 1s and a 3. That's very rare. Okay. There's our abilities. So now we know how those come together. Ability focus. We've got races here. We're not going to look at those. But we are going to try to quickly look at rewards. I don't know where they are, though, Thaddeus, if you're still here. Chapter 11 rewards. We will just briefly go over this because I am absolutely running out of steam. Heroes in Blue Rose brave great perils and overcome tremendous odds while safeguarding their homes and those they love are often their primary motivations. Heroes do earn various other rewards over the course of their adventures. This chapter discusses ways to reward the players for their achievements during play. These rewards range from character advancement to accolades, honorifics, and membership in exclusive companies, as well as special items and equipment. I love that. To actually have items be unique and special, and not just everybody buying the same runes because of the same build or whatever. All right. Advancement. Level advancement, yeah. Essentially, after an adventure or 2, whenever you as narrator feel the heroes have reached a point of development in their story, you can award them an additional level. So maybe there isn't XP. We didn't actually find that out today. Generally, heroes should earn no more than 1 level from a single adventure, unless it is especially long and harrowing, consists of multiple game sessions, or the heroes achieve a truly remarkable success. That's neat. So yeah, it seems like it's just a milestone system. Okay, so that's your standard reward. Honorifics. Another way to reward characters is with honorifics, special titles or reputations based on great deeds or important moments in the series. This can be a singular event, such as saving a village from a dire threat, or it can be a continuing responsibility, such as being recruited into the sovereign's finest or serving the crown in some other special capacity. A list of common titles and honorifics is included in this section, though narrators should feel free to use these as an inspiration for their own creations. Okay, so the honorifics are basically feats. Famed artist, you're a famous painter, writer, poet, or actor, yada yada. You gain +1 bonus when displaying or performing your art for a crowd. Reputation encourages appreciation and praise. Also, you gain a +2 bonus to social tests. So this is cool. So the honorifics, yeah, are basically like giving out feats to characters that have specific rewards. Raiden friend, you are known as a friend and ally to the Raiden. Even great Raidens such as unicorns respect and recognize you. You may be Rai bonded, but this isn't required to earn this reputation. You are considered to have an intensity 1 relationship with any non-corrupted Raiden you meet who is aware of your reputation. Cool. The real test of this is going to be how relevant are these things in the actual themes of the campaign of the series that you're running. And if they are relevant, as in like the way that they were designed and written, then these will all be exciting to get because they will all be important. So that's pretty cool. System-wise, this doesn't seem to be for me. The setting might be interesting, though. I might adapt it to LATM. You know, honestly, yeah. Honestly, 100%. Absolutely could be really ripe for Legend in the Mist. And there are other source books. Maybe there are like campaign-focused books to use with it. I might come to this, though, just for the fun of having that kind of like older school, I call it older school, but more kind of classic role-playing situation. If the combat is interesting and fast and fun, then I would probably give this a shot as written, to be honest. True romantic. You love easily and often. Whoa. Once every adventure, you may generate an intensity 2 in relationship with an NPC defined as a temporary dalliance, powerful infatuation, reunion with a former lover, or similarly intense but brief connection. This relationship lasts until the end of the adventure. Wild. Yeah. I mean, Legend in the Mist, you can just do so much with. Yeah, you guys are all on the same page together. Oh man, that Mist engine. I want to do so many things with it. I think the Mist engine would be great for a Supers game. I'm not interested in Supers game, but if I was, I think that would be a great system for it. Everything would be tag based, and I think it would be great for a certain flavor of sci-fi. I really do. All right, titles. So how is a title different than an honorific? Is it just a little more formalized? So those are not mechanically rewarding, but they're just like narratively rewarding. Some of these are covered by goal fulfillment. Others may be the result of noble or royal decree. There's a charm to playing 2000s era games like this, but maybe that is just my nostalgia. Could be. I think that this seems to be like lightweight enough and avoid the pitfalls of having like feet to trees, right? Like all that stuff that none of us have time for anymore, while preserving some of that feel. So it seems pretty good. I'm assuming you were saying Mist Engine is the best generic narrative system I've seen to date, because I would probably agree. Not that I've seen many things, but I like what I like, and if I'm drawn to it and I check it out and I still like it, then that's good enough for me. So we do like our Legend in the Mist over in London Station. We do. Cool. So there's titles, and those are, I guess I would call those just for fun, but you should care about those things as a player. This is cool. Rizea. The riders of Rizea sometimes recognize great and noteworthy deeds with banners. Colored strips of fine cloth which are often embroidered or decorated. These may be woven into a rider's braided hair or displayed from saddles or harnesses. And banners given to rye horses are likewise woven into mane or tail or displayed from their tack. A bearer of banners formally approaching another camp may choose to fly them from the tip of a spear or staff while mounted. It's cool. It gives you narrative significance. Okay, memberships. So there's a bunch of different groups. There's different ranks. Those recruited get a free Intensity 1 relationship with that org, its founder, its leaders, or some other group or person connected to it. If it already exists, it's increased by +1. Not all orgs are equal. They don't all provide the same level of support. Okay. GM considerations. There is no Legend in the Mist PvP happening at KOLC. There is Legend in the Mist play-by-post happening in my server. And I have the same setup as Derek. It's Patreon, whatever. $3 tier is the basic, gives you pretty much everything you would need. The $1 tier is broken. It's not supposed to give you everything it does, but I don't feel like fixing it. I think it's a great budget option for people if they need it. But with that said, I'm running 2 games. I'm running the Wake of the Old Ways campaign, and I have 8 players. I have 4 players in each group. That said, I did have to put it on a little bit of a pause because I'm just a little too swamped right now. Once I finish up my 2 missions that are running in New Dawn right now, I'm going to go hard into that, and that's going to be, pretty soon people are going to start receiving their books. U.S. shipments are supposed to go out in the 2nd week of June, so those will be coming soon. And so I'll be running 2 groups simultaneously through the adventures from Hearts of Ravensdale, and I'll be able to kind of learn from one and put things to the other and see how the groups go differently. But as I was going to say, there might be people who were available to do it earlier but aren't anymore, so I'll have to recheck with the groups and see if everybody's still on board. But yes, so I will be running those hopefully starting like end of May. I did push it off and I feel bad about that, but I told everybody, I was like, look, I don't want to do this a disservice. I want to do it right, so I'll have to make that my focus and do it that way. Yes, this whole thing, I modeled a lot of it after how Derek set up Knights of Last Call. So I have a Patreon and Discord. I do my newsletters as a benefit for certain tiers. We have like a cool like narrative contribution campaign thing that you can do where you earn these points and you can actually contribute to the lore of London Station. So people have spent some points for that. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, 1E 2005, 2E 2017, 3E 2026. That is a good gap between editions. I'm very interested to see what this Sage thing's all about. I'm very interested, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Okay, rank 2 respected member. You're going to get more bonuses to your relationships. I convey. Oh, this rank conveys a +2 bonus. Rank 3 authority figure. This is really cool. Okay, to have group membership be a part of a reward where the initial setup of the game said that romantic fantasy is about finding your base of operations, basically, and then fighting to preserve it or to advance it. And this is a direct tie-in to those themes. So this is a very good job that they've done of linking those things together. I don't know if this is an age thing in general or if this is something they put into Blue Rose because of the themes, but this is the kind of stuff that I wanted to see. Do the systems of the game reinforce the mission that it started off with, you know? So that's what it's all about. It's awesome to see that anyone is even thinking of Blue Rose in 2026, let alone a new version. Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, publishers are going to keep publishing, and I guess at a certain point you say, hey, let's. There's been innovation in design space. It's been, you know, almost 10 years. Let's see what a stripped down version of Age would even look like. You know, we could find out that it really, really simplifies the stunts because that's a potential sticking point. But this already seems pretty lean to me, if I'm honest. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. I'll be excited to follow it along, especially if it carries over a lot of these themes. The one thing that does give me pause is it seems like the Sage version is very specifically like about wardens, like young adventuring heroes, and is not like the breadth of the full setting of this. It seems like it's going to be it'd be like if Pathfinder was released, but they're like, no, you're all Pathfinder Society agents, and that's what the game is. So that's my one concern, but we'll see. You know, we'll find out in 4 days when they actually launch more information about it. And thank you, Aldark, again, for letting me know that was coming. Yeah, very manageable. I agree. Companions. Okay, so you can accumulate allies and things like that as rewards, you know. I like that. And there's got to be things that you do with relationships. We just didn't read about that today, so that would also be a way to make use of companions. Animal companions. Yeah, here you go. Bodyguards. And they can do tasks for you. This is kind of neat. This is cool. Because now you're adventuring not just with your party, but maybe you've got like a couple dudes with you, you know? Lovers are important in Blue Rose, often being the subject of relationships and sometimes being central to certain adventures or series arcs. They may also decide to adventure alongside the object of their affection. This can be very entertaining and provide ample opportunity to grow and engage a hero's relationship, but it also puts the companion in harm's way quite often. Mechanical benefits of a lover, moral support, romantic interludes. Love it. Take a blow meant for the player character and profess their love before succumbing to their wounds. Yikes. And then special items and equipment. I'll take a quick look at these because you all know I've got issues with equipment. Masterwork items. Features. Okay, so there's like a trait system for item manipulation. I kind of like that, actually. Don't give me 300 types of sword. Just like give me ways to modify the weapon to be cool. Crafting bonuses and penalties. Oh, cool. Yeah. You can have like a workspace. I like that kind of thing. Again, I like this kind of thing when you have a safe home base and you go out into the world and you fight for the things that matter, which are back home. And this is another thing that I thought that RuneQuest did really well. RuneQuest just has so much, old DNA out of, why can't I think of it? BRP stuff. But I know RuneLord is really digging into HeroQuest Glorantha or whatever it is, which gets it out of that sort of lineage and preserves the world and the themes. So that's where we've lost RuneLord to the last 3 weeks. It's been diving in. Arcane items, special stuff, special elixirs. I mean, this is getting to the point where I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to track what kind of elixir I'm giving you and decide if you're even going to care when I give it to you. Arcane stones, though, no, this sounds fun. Potential to hold and channel arcane energy in various ways. They set stones into jewelry. I like it. Okay. So this stuff is cool. I like this. Meditation stone allows an adept to recover faster from the fatigue of wielding arcana. Meditating with the stone allows the adept to recover from fatigue caused by arcana in half the normal time, provided the stone is used to meditate the entire time. Yeah, I like stuff like that. That's cool. Arcane weapons. Oh, here's the Crystons, the non-lethal only ranged crystal weapons. Boy, that's kind of complicated. Pulse of arcane force up to a distance of 100 feet as a major action. Make a specific test. There is some crunch down here when you get into this. Unique arcane items. Wealth. Corrupt items. Yikes. Oh, this is interesting. Blue Rose doesn't concern itself with strict and specific systems of accounting for wealth the way many role-playing games do. It's generally assumed the heroes have access to resources and wealth based on their concept and background. But few adventures or role-playing opportunities are based around the acquisition of material wealth as such. Thank God. I do not want to go into dungeons and loot. I don't care. Sorry, everybody. It's me. What do you expect? Instead, focusing on politics, facing supernatural threats or ideological struggles, and similar tales of romance, drama, and glory. Doesn't mean money isn't important. Since it doesn't count each coin, the best way to use wealth as a reward is in the form of substantial payouts and lasting changes to characters' wealth and means. An award of a few coins, even a lump sum of money, is unlikely to excite most players, even if their characters would be pleased. Good examples of wealth-based rewards include houses or manors, yeah. Services of various characters such as guards or household staff, ships, or other forms of... Oh, God, could you imagine just being like, good job, players, here's a ship for you. I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's decorate the ship. Find horses, other mounts. This is cool. This is good advice. And again, that's because we're kind of in this post-scarcity magic world of Aldea, the city at the center of everything, where good people have kind of come into power, and there's a system based on being, your nobles are determined by the Blue Rose Scepter, and your leader is determined by the Golden Heart, and it's all kind of good to go, right? So that's nice. Yeah, cool. I like it. I like this soft system of rewards. Yeah, there's this whole thing too. The Royal Road is this whole tarot-based system that you can use to influence GMing stuff. We'll have to look at that someday. We will have to look at it someday. But that's going to do it for us for Blue Rose for a first contact. We might come back to it. That'll kind of be up to if people are interested to see it. But I had a good time looking at it. I do think it's lean enough for my tastes, not getting into Pathfinder 1 territory even remotely, which is good. I don't mind the resolution system. I don't mind the target number setting system. I can already tell you that average difficulty is 11, hard is 15, nigh impossible is 21, and trivial or whatever they called it is 7. And the fact that I already know that just after looking at it for one time, that means it's easy to adjudicate in GM and be improvisational with, which is my strength style. I like the themes. I like the focus on certain aspects of adventuring. And there's still so much more to dig into, and there might be turnoffs buried in there somewhere. But it's a game I would give a shot. It's a game I would probably run a campaign with people in. and I think we would have a good time doing it. We didn't even look at like class selection and how the warrior and the adept and the, I don't know, I already closed the PDF. I don't even remember what the classes are. But that kind of speaks to the fact that it's not a game about classes, right? Because, like, whatever. Like, it's going to give me some abilities. I'm going to be rolling some dice. I'm going to be doing some stunts. What else do I need to know, right? So, I think it's a cool system. I'm very interested to see what comes out of the Sage version. And maybe what we'll do, because I did this with Pumpkin Spice and Runeway as well, is I just happened to catch on to them right at the time that they were kickstarting, and like I kind of like being able to look at quick starts for games that are coming out, because I know I can show the full PDF, on a stream, and also be a part of the conversation of what's new and on the cutting edge of gaming. But Adept, Expert, Warrior, yes, thank you, comes from the basic classes in 3E. The basic NPC classes, yeah. Is that what you mean? I think that's what you mean. But cool. I hope you all had a good time hanging out looking at Blue Rose. And if you want to see more of it, let me know in the comments here. If you want to join our Patreon community, it's a good group of people. We've got 24-ish folks in there now, and they're all people who, if you like me, you're gonna like these people because they like me, and we're a special little group of weirdos that like our role-playing intense games and all of that. So. Anyhow, check that out if you're so inclined. What else? That's it. Like, subscribe, do all the things. I've made a bunch of good friends over the last year, and quite a few of them stream all sorts of fun things. So we're going to go visit our friend Zachary. We're not on Twitch, so we can't actually raid, but we go over there manually because we like to support the people that support us, and they're good people. So we're going to go hang out with Zachary. If you want to come along and just say hi and then drop off, that's fine. That's called the Raid and Run. The Raid and Run. Anyway, I like to do that to show my appreciation for these folks. And so I'd appreciate it if you come in and check them out. Zachary is in our Discord community. Great artist, and has been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV lately. They just looked at Draconim this morning. The new updated quick start, I think, is what it is. It's a new beta or something. So they were doing that this morning. They've pivoted to Final Fantasy XIV. And I'm going to go hang out in their chat for a little while. I got to get ready for work here pretty soon, which sucks, but it is what it is. Hope you had a good time hanging out. I'll put that link in here. Cool. Thanks for the fun stream. Great stream. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you being here and checking it out with us. And with that said, we'll go over and say hi to Zachary. And I will see you next time on London Station. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Love ya.